So just struggling in communication here between the judges and the starting grid as far as what we want to do. Again, guys, thank you so much for being patient with us. Stick tight. We only got about 2 more runs before we head into top 32 for the pro guys. And be sure to join me over at the Formula D podium for the closing, or sorry, for the award ceremonies over at 5 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to do this the best I can. Our next battle was supposed to be Nick Jimenez going up against Rob Primo. However, Nick broke, so Rob Primo automatically advances on for the first and second place battle, which the last winner was Tyler Wolfson. So Rob Primo was supposed to go up against Tyler Wolfson for the first and second place. Tyler Wolfson has conceded. Therefore, the unofficial first place finisher is Mr. Rob Primovich. Under one, the judges have made one requirement. In order for Primo to get first place, he has to make one good run. Again, Tyler Wolfson conceded. Nick Jimenez is broken. We are missing 2 really good battles due to technical difficulties. We've never had this happen all season. This is actually like the first I've ever seen anything like this happen. But again, this is the first anything like this has happened. Both the third place and first and second place battle, we're more or less scratching due to Nick Jimenez and Tyler Wolfson both being out of commission. So in the meantime, here he comes. As he comes across, I want everybody to give him a big round of applause as he walks his way across the 5/8. This will be his first podium finish of 2012. Garage Auto Hero, John Racing Tuned, 10 Gun, Factory 83, Falcon Tire, NOS Energy Drink. Rob Primo unofficially is making it official for first place. Make some noise, Evergreen Speedway Pro AM. First place goes to Rob Primo. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for putting up with us. I mean, that was definitely our most pretty much tragic event there. We had a lot of cars go out. I mean, qualifying was smooth, practice smooth, but I mean, props to all the drivers who came out here and gave it their all. Hope you guys join us tomorrow as Evergreen Drift will be putting on Tandem Mayhem. Again, all cage drivers all day long. We're going to see tandem trains, 5 cars, maybe 10 cars deep. Heck, let's send them all at the same time. So again, huge thanks to all of our sponsors. Again, NOS Energy Drink, Northwest Nissans, 425 Motorsports, NissanParts.cc, Factory 83, Phil Suit, and Diversity Law. This is round 4. We're calling it a wrap as I hand the mic over to Jared Deando. He's going to walk you guys through Formula D round 5 as they were, where are they at? They're going to top 32. That's where they are. But again, 5 o'clock will be our award ceremony. I'm going to meet you guys over at the stage. Again, 5 o'clock. Until then, be sure to add us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook, guys. Evergreen Drift on Facebook and also evergreendrift.com. Be sure to follow us along. August 12th is our open drift. Tomorrow is Tandem Mayhem. Again, huge grats to all the top 3 finishers. And we'll see you guys at the award ceremony at 5 o'clock. Again, my name is Matt. I'll see you guys here all year long and probably the years to come as Evergreen Drift continues to grow and expand and pick up more drivers and send them on their way to the pro ranks. Again, it's been a blast, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Matt. All the competitors here in the Pro-Am Championship. It looks like we're bringing them out. You just talked about it. 5 o'clock is the podium ceremony for the Pro-Am. Don't go anywhere. I hope you're just going to grab a beer real quick at the beer garden. Grab some vodka, NOS, whatever you got to do. Grab some hydration, grab some food. Even stop by the official Formula Drift merchandise. They got some tank tops, some sweatshirts. A little too nice of weather for sweatshirt right now. But don't go anywhere. Top 32 is about to begin in just minutes here at round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. Thank you to Matt and the whole Evergreen staff. You guys have done a phenomenal job. You're welcome, Matt. As we are getting our Formula Drift judges, we're getting all the cars gridded up, and we will begin round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship here in just moments. Don't go anywhere. At this time, I want to thank you, and of course, Now's a great time to thank our sponsors, EA Games and NOS Energy Drink, the official energy drink of Formula Drift. Discount Tire, the official tire and wheel retailer of Formula Drift, and the United States Air Force. This is also the second round of the Tires.com Triple Crown. What is the Tires.com Triple Crown? Well, basically the driver with the most accumulative points of 3 rounds of the 7 rounds of competition. Atlanta, here, and the final, Irwindale, the House of Drift. The highest driver of just those 3 rounds is the winner of the Tires.com Triple Crown. The driver leading the charge, JTP, Justin Pollock, who's also leading the points championship coming to this round of competition. Osbo is in second and Daigo Saito in third. Again, that is for, independently, a championship within a championship, the Tires.com Triple Crown. Also want a special thanks to our official tire sponsors of Formula Drift, Falcon Tire, Nitto Tire, Cooper Tire, and Hankook Tire. Another thanks to our associate sponsors, Mobile One Oil, provider and sponsor of oil for Tyler McCory's team, the Tyler McCory Mobile One Chevrolet Camaro, Exity Clutches, NK Wheels, AEM Intakes, Motegi Wheels, and GoPro Cameras. Speaking of Tyler McCory and the team will be giving out a GoPro camera at 6 o'clock. Be sure to go by his booth, pick up a raffle ticket, and potentially win a GoPro camera. Alpine Stars, official supplier of gear for the Formula Drift staff and team. Electric Sunglasses, debuting their new signature Drift Alliance sunglasses of Chris Forsberg and Vaughn Gittin Jr. mid next month, so mid-August. Be sure to follow Electric Visual on Instagram and Twitter at Electric Visual, and also on Facebook. Also special thanks to Bell One Communications, the official communication partner of Formula Drift. Other tire suppliers include Nexen Tire, Kenda Tire, Yokohama Tire, and Achilles Tire. Be sure to stop by the official Formula Drift merchandise booth behind the grandstand and pick up all your Formula Drift branded gear. It's actually right there in front. If you're looking to catch some Major League Baseball, Hankook Tire, the sponsor of Formula Drift and Major League Baseball, come to the Hankook booth to sign up for Facebook and chance to win Major League Baseball tickets, 4 tickets to Mariners versus the Twins, August 17th at 7:10 p.m. There's a big battle on and off track, V8 versus Turbo. The Turbos by Garrett V8 Hunters Cup. Go to facebook.com/Turbo by Garrett to vote for which Garrett Turbo Power driver will take out the most V8s in head-to-head competition. Again, Turbos by Garrett promoting the V8 Hunters Cup. The X-Mini Rookie Challenge. The X-Mini Rookie Challenge, there's a pot of money that goes into the pot, and the driver that is the first year of Formula Drift USA competition is in the running for the X-Mini Rookie Challenge. The pot is accumulated by you purchasing X-Mini Formula Drift Mini branded speakers. Sound beyond size, X-Mini speakers. AEM dominates the sport compact industry. AEM offers air intake systems with power gains in the RPM ranges that matter. Check out what AEM can do for you at AEMintakes.com. AEM, engineered to outperform. Motegi Racing believes in motorsports. It's through technical partnerships with leading teams that Motegi Racing wheels are designed and engineered for performance. Check out the ultra lightweight Motegi Racing track light that Frederick Osbo and Matt Powers are running on track. Find out more at motegiracing.com. What happens when the men and women of the United States Air Force customize a Ford Mustang? Head over to the Project Supercar in Vendor Village and find out. Only the Air Force can do it with Air Force technology. So again, in just minutes, go and hit the restroom. Don't lose your seat. We're going to have a packed out house. We're going to have a sold out crowd. But every seat's going to be available. You guys are going to be on your feet as we start with the top 32. We'll have an hour-and-a-half break as scheduled, and then we begin top 16 National Anthem opening ceremonies at around 7 o'clock. So we have an action-packed day here on and off track. Be sure to visit the sponsors, Vendor Village, support the sponsors, and we have a very special open paddock area so you can meet some of your favorite drivers. Again, looking at the schedule, top 16 action does begin at 6:30 actually. The National Anthem opening ceremony begins at 6:30. The competition begins at 7. So you're going to want to grab your seat prior to 6:30 for the National Anthem and opening ceremonies. We're about to begin top 32 in just minutes here at round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. right, welcome to round 5 of the Formula Drift Pro Championship. My name is Jared Deanna, the voice of Drift. Thank you for joining us online as well as you're watching the one and only Drift stream internationally, and I'm going to be introducing our host later on. Well, right now I want to break down the track. I'm with my co-host of Formula Drift TV and co-founder of Formula Drift. Look at that smile, so adorable. But in all seriousness, I want you to break down the course, what the judges are scrutinizing, and how the judges have laid out the course for us today. We've been coming here for 7 years, but some things are just getting a little more harshly watched.
Absolutely, thanks, Jared. You know, every course is different. The judges have given specific criteria to what the judges are looking for here at this course in Evergreen. So we're going to start down the front straight. At the NOS inflatable, drivers are going to come down the front straight, reaching speeds of excess of 85 miles per hour until they initiate. Once they initiate, they're looking for the big outer zone, which is basically the entire bank. It starts near the K&N banner and the NASCAR banner, where you'll see a proximity sensor that will light up in red if the driver is within 18 inches of that sensor. They will then ride the bank all the way around to the next sensor, which is on the end of the bank. Another proximity sensor will light red if they're within 18 inches. The drivers will then leave the zone and transition into the bank. Now, if you look at the yellow line on the track, the outermost line is the edge of the course. Tires are not to be dropped off that line at any given time. Then they'll transition to the next second outside zone, which again is marked by 2 proximity sensors and 2 clipping points. You'll see the first one starts on the electric banner, and then it ends on the NOS banner. From there, the drivers will reach their first inside clipping point right here near the edge of the course, and then the second and last inside clipping point before they match the throttle and go across the finish line. Now, an important thing that the judges wanted to bring up is, what is a zero in tandem? Well, there are 8 specific things that they brought up. So as a fan and you're watching at home, here at the event, you can keep this in mind. The first one is a spin. That is a zero. Second is loss of drift. Third would be an understeer. 2 would be 2 tires off or more based on the outside edge of the painted line. If at any time your hood, your hatch, or your doors open during a run, not due to contact, that is a zero. An illegal pass is a zero. Drifting straight is a zero. And a driver deemed responsible for contact that results in a car spinning or losing drift will also be a zero. There's also 1 passing point in this entire course, and that is between the second outside zone and the first inside clipping point, so keep an eye on that. And to give an example of what the best lead run we had this weekend, we'll take some time right now to look at number 1 qualifier from yesterday, Gittin Jr. You can see JR initiates nice and high on the bank as he's transitioning. Perfect line, great angle right there. Nice and high as he comes off the bank. He hits this outer clip right here, and he transitions. Nice angle, reaching maximum angle in the power alley, then transitioning back around to that outside zone. Keeping it nice and tight to this inside clip right here, and a quick, smooth flick across the finish line. That was your number 1 qualifier, Gittin Jr. Now it is time for tandem. Let's get in the top 32.
And remember, that scored a 91, so it was an ideal run. It was our number 1 qualifier, not the perfect run. So you have to keep that in mind. There were still some points available from him. And again, the VLED's proximity sensors are only used as an aid. The judges aren't leaning on that it's just wholeheartedly. That's only used as an aid. So at this time, again, we're about to begin top 32 competition. 2 vehicles on the track at the same time. 3 judges scrutinizing each run. It's gladiator style. 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time, thank you for giving us a shot, showing you Formula Drift, the premier international drifting sanctioning body. 2012 this year marks 9 years of competition, celebrating our anniversary, 10 years of competition next year. Enter the Formula Drift graphics contest. Also, we have plenty of things to do. Hashtag FDNW, we're in the Northwest, or FDSEA. You choose, you pick your poison. But at this time, and I hand it over, live in the flesh, you're going to be hearing me. But on the Drift stream, you will be hearing Jacob Leviton, editor of Performance Auto and Sound magazine, and Eric O'Sullivan, a longtime drifter coming to us from Ireland, so he has a bit of an accent, so I apologize already for that, but he does know what he's talking about, even though he talks really fast and he likes dags, right? You like dags? You like dags. So Eric O'Sullivan and Jacob Leviton. Jacob likes hockey, so that's kind of a cool thing. So they're going to be taking over online on the Drift stream as we're going to continue the action here. Myself, Ryan Sage, we're going to be talking down the runs, scrutinizing the runs, the replays, and the 3 judges, Andy Yen, Brian Egger, and Ryan Lantain. We're good to go as Doug gives us the thumbs up. Seattle, Northwest, I have 1 question. Are you ready to see some drifting action? Head-to-head top 32. Wait, I'm going to ask one more time. You got to get loud and you got to stomp your feet. I need you to stomp your feet right now. Stomp your feet. Make some noise for top 32. Let them hear ya. Formula Drift, round 5.
On the bank nice and early. Gittin Jr. staying high on the bank. This is the line that they're going to want to see. You see Miro a little bit lower on that bank. He's really going to have to get close in order to have an influence on the judging. JR is going to drive through this pretty smoothly. Miro's coming on that inside line on an outside zone. That's not what the judges want to see, but doing everything he can to try and catch up. Eric O'Sullivan, give us your breakdown of this run.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much a textbook run from JR. Let's look at the replay. He definitely managed to put some distance on Miro. You know, Miro was playing catch-up, and looked like JR pretty much made all the clips. Nothing out of the ordinary, and I was concerned that we had an oil spill actually just at the end of Pro-Am, right across, a straight line right across our very last in our clip, and I thought that might actually end up causing some problems, but JR got through there pretty good. No issues at all.
Yeah, here we go back to the replay sponsored by Nitto Tire. So this start line is new for this event. This is a LED start line. Eric, walk us through this replay.
Yeah, JR already has some distance early in the bank, and he's up nice and high. You know, it's doing his qualifying line. Looks like he has good speed on the outer clip, and perfect out on that yellow line, which isn't an easy thing to do. You know, you just got to know where it is. Obviously, you can't see it down there, and tight to the wall, which has been a tough clip for a lot of people all weekend. There you can see that bit of oil that was left in Pro-Am, but doesn't seem to cause any issues. And you know, Miro definitely pulled in a little bit in the last turn, but I think pretty dominant performance from JR.
So here we go with the tree. You see those 5 lights light up. As soon as the lights go out, that's when the driver's going to take off. Miro of Chark is going to be leading. Gittin Jr. is going to give chase. Miro's taking a bit of a run up. JR waited a little bit on the line since Miro's the slower car, but you're seeing JR suck up close to him on the bank nice and early. And through this tandem, this is where we expect the cars to be nice and close. You'll see JR is much closer to Miro than Miro was when JR was leading. Back through the transition, nice and tight out on the wall, across the finish line. That's the end of our first top 32 battle. So Eric, this is a track that you've had success at before. Your lone podium in Formula D back in 2009.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a super fun track. It's really high speed. Although the start line has definitely been brought up the straightaway a little bit, so I don't think they're coming in as fast as they used to, but it's a lot of fun. And Miro had a good run, but a little correction there on initiation, and JR leaving a gap because he definitely has more pace. I mean, that Ford Racing Power is hard to deal with, but not a bad run by Miro at all on the line. Got the clips pretty good, but JR is just right there. Just, you know, at this point, he's almost on its door, and then brings in tight in the last clip. You know, a good run by Miro, but I just think JR had the tighter chase run.
Gittin Jr. is going to get the win on this. Unanimous decision. Not too much of a surprise on that one. Miro's, I believe this is his second or third top 32, so it's good to see a rookie out here, but
yeah,
he definitely
absolutely
ran into a big boy in the first round.
Yeah, that's a tough first round draw. You know, your top qualifier, and JR is, you know, he's pretty consistent now in that Mustang. The thing is unreal. Miro, of course, another Club Loose guy, runs in Englishtown a lot, and it's great to see him out here making, you know, a big trip out here to Seattle, and certainly put on a good performance. But I just think JR has been pretty dominant this weekend already, and it's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, coming off that win over in New Jersey, he was able to make a pretty substantial move up in the point standing. Gittin Jr. now sitting 4th with 279 points entering the weekend. As that #1 qualifier, he's going to win a couple more points as well from qualifying. So trying to make up that gap on Justin Pollock, who is in 1st, Daigo Saito, who's in 2nd, and Dai Yoshihara, who's in 3rd. Going to get these cameras set up for the Formula D TV show, which starts after the Olympics on the NBC Sports Network. Of course, the Olympics are coming up here in just about, I believe, 10 days from now over in London. On the right for our next battle, Mike Essa as the higher qualifier in that Turbo by Garrett powered BMW Z4. And on the left, Bachis, who's coming off his Rookie of the Year title last season in Formula D. This could be a pretty tight battle.
Yeah, I expect to see a pretty tight battle. I think Odie was very consistent, even though his qualifying score wasn't great, but we'll see what he can do in the chase.
Here we go, initiating tight on the bank from Odie.
Oh.
Contact Odie looks like he made contact with Mike Essa, but Essa's able to continue his drift and stay high on the bank. Tons of smoke coming from Essa's car. Odie sucking in again tight on this outside zone. Keeping it tight through on the inside clipping point right there. Around the final clip across the finish line. I think that that contact on the bank, although Essa was able to keep his line, it did affect his angle a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how the judges
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I know, like, Essa could have just straightened up at that point. You know, he did get tagged, but he kept the foot in and kept the pin, as did Odie. Like, you'll see here on his initiation, he threw it in pretty hard, and it looked like he had an awesome run going on. He was nice and close, but just a little too close. It looks like he actually touched wheels, which is definitely going to send you pretty hard up the bank. But Essa kept the foot in. Odie is still there, but, you know, it was his fault, really, that contact was made, so we'll have to see what the judges think. But the rest of the run was pretty clean. Doesn't seem to be any damage on the cars, so we'll see what Essa can do in his chase run.
Fairly impressive run by Essa. You know, there was contact there. I think Odie is probably going to get punished a little bit more for losing drift than the contact, because the contact didn't seem to affect the drift as much.
Well, that was an awesome job by Mike Essa to keep it going. You know, absolutely no fear at all. That's like middle of the bank is where you're really going for it, and it's hard to keep the phase of it all. Look at that.
Judges were asking for another replay, so we're seeing it again. You see right there, right before we cut the camera to the different angle, that was the part that Odie was shallow.
If Mike couldn't have saved that, if you know he didn't have that steering angle, that could have been a really bad accident with both cars involved and a wall probably. But yeah, he just snapped onto full steering lock and kept the foot in. It was awesome.
One of our great sponsors is Turbo by Garrett. They have a V8 Hunters Cup. The driver who is able to take out the most V8s at the end of the season is going to have a special cash prize. Here we go. Odie Bachis is going to be leading Mike Essa with the Turbo by Garrett currently chasing. It's like Odie initiating pretty early on the bank, staying high. A lot more smoke coming from Essa's car than from Odie's car. And here's the extra angle that Odie dumps as he exits the bank. Essa's going to try and get tight. Look for that pass. Wasn't there. Is able to maintain proximity. Back on the inside clipping point around the final turn. Good run from Essa. That car really has some good torque. I know he's added a lot more power and torque since the last round with the new turbo setup that he's got, but that was a pretty good line.
Yeah, he definitely left a little bit of space, I think, early on the bank, as you can see here, but he started to reel Odie in about midway. You know, he probably knows he has a slight advantage from the first run, so he's not risking it too much, but then he comes into the infield and pulls a pretty risky maneuver right here. Like, Odie goes out to get that really hard to get out of clip, and Mike's just like right there on his door.
And this is the area right where the Need for Speed banner and the NOS Energy Drink banner, that's the designated passing zone if a person is offline.
But yeah, there are two inner clips there, so you know, if there's room to pass, and they're already way off course at that point. But that was before that, really, and Mike threw it in nice and hard. A really good performance from Mike in his chase run.
We're gonna wait to see what the judges say. They're asking to see another replay of the first run. So we're going to go back to that. They probably want to see what happened with the contact.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, it didn't. Both drivers could keep drifting, I suppose, at that point. So they're obviously just looking for more details on it. But you know, it was going to be an awesome run. I really thought Odie would have held on to it, just held it back that little bit more. But he definitely, his front left touched Mike's right rear, which if it was bodywork, you know, it was bumper to bumper, it mightn't have been so bad, but it definitely, I mean, it was, that was pretty hard.
Yeah, this is the part right here where you see Odie's looks
horrible.
like wavering and
you know, if you do something like that in your qualifying run, drop down the bank and start correcting like that, you're pretty much not making the show at that point. So, you know, I think hats off to Essa for keeping things going, put on a good show, and see what the judges have to say.
Something to note about qualifying, there were 20 drivers who scored a score in the 80s. I think that's the most number of drivers we've had in the 80s. I believe these drivers actually had the exact same score. It came down to speed, so that's how competitive Formula D is these days.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys that stepped up their game yesterday. Dennis Merzanis won. I think Pat Mordaunt as well came out with an unreal qualifying run. You know, this track, I think, just favours a bit of bravery, to be honest. You know, even if you're down on power, you don't quite have as much traction as other guys, you know. If you have the ability to come in there as fast as you can, it really stands to you. You can keep your momentum around this whole bank and carry it into the infield.
So it looks like the judges' decisions are in. just waiting to finalize everything, but looking over, I think the judges saw it the same way we did. Mike Essa is going to be moving on from this battle. Odie had a good run, but unfortunately that next entire car is...
it's disappointing. Odie was really consistent all weekend in his qualifying. The score didn't really reflect how good he was running. He just maybe didn't put it together in his 2 runs, but that's unfortunate. He looked like he was really on it. If he could have kept that couple of feet distance he had early in the bank, things would have really gone different there. That's the joys of drifting, that's all it takes. That's all.
This is going to be an interesting battle. On the right, we have Walker Wilkerson, who is a local boy, the product of the Evergreen Drift Series, qualified 8th. On the left, that car is the Bergenholtz racing car, previously driven by Jim Bing, but starting with this round, this car is piloted by Chelsea Denofa. So Denofa getting behind the wheel of this car for the first time this weekend. Another Turbo by Garrett car. This could be a pretty interesting battle.
Yeah, I know. Bergenholtz guys had some issues last time with transmission and something again in practice today, so great to see they got the car out there, but this could be a tough.
Here we go with Walker Wilkerson initiating on the bank right before the signage starts, staying high on the bank. Looks like Denofa is dropping down a little bit, trying to get close to Walker. Tons of angle coming off. Looks Denofa is much shallower than we've seen before, sucking in close to Walker on that outside zone. Back to the transition of both inner clips off through the finish line. I think there are some mistakes in following from Denofa. It looks like a couple steering corrections exiting the bank. We'll have to watch that replay and see exactly what happened.
The bank certainly wasn't clean, and then the infield that was pretty nasty coming into the power rally. So here we go. How's your hood pins? Walker Wilkerson not having any problems this week with his hood popping up, thank God. If you watch, Walker's nice and high up on the wall, nice and smooth, and the RX-8 definitely a couple of corrections, but right here Chelsea puts on a ton of angle at just the wrong point. That's where you really want to carry your speed into the power rally so you can make it down. But he puts on so much angle, scrubs a ton of speed, and definitely, although we finished strong, that was a big correction right there.
Yeah, that RX-8 from Chelsea is definitely turning a corner with the suspension setup. It's looked a lot better, a lot smoother with his transitions than some of the other tracks we've seen this year. Chelsea rebuilt a new BMW chassis in case this deal with Gittin Jr. or with Bergenholtz Racing didn't come through. So his E46 BMW that he built is still in the pits over the Air Force area. He's got a good endorsement deal with them for XTC and whatnot. So we're going to switch drivers, and this time Chelsea Denofa will be leading in that RX-8, and Walker Wilson is going to give a chase. Chelsea with a good initiation, a little bit higher on the bank than he was when he was following, but Walker is falling behind a little bit on that lack of proximity. That may affect him. But here we go through the power alley. It's a good opportunity for Walker to try and make up some ground, but it looks like he's much further back, not able to make up a whole lot of room over the entirety of the course. It looked like Chelsea brushed his wing up against the wall around that final corner. That's a wall that has caused some people to lose tandem battles in the past. Let's go back to that replay and check it out.
This isn't, I think Walker let the ball drop here a little bit. I would say he had the advantage, but he really fell back way too early and just wasn't able to make it back up. Chelsea is out of there. Definitely, not as high in the bank as Walker was in his lead run, but the judges are making a big point of proximity these days, and Walker is just in it. It's like a separate battle right now. He's right back there doing his own thing, not close on Chelsea at all, and Chelsea tagged the bumper right there. Saw something hanging off the back of the car as he made his way back to the start line. It is a tough one to call, I have to say.
What happens?
Yeah.
Waiting to see what the judges say. I don't know. I saw mistakes from both drivers. I think there's a lot of steering correction from Chelsea when he was following, but that lack of proximity, that's really been a stress point.
Walker was way back there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really surprised too. Like you said, local guy knows his place well, and maybe he just thought Chelsea's speed would be down a little bit, tried to give him some space, but he definitely wasn't able to make it back up, and that's really going to hurt his chances here, I think.
You can see a packed house here in Evergreen. Another year. This is so early in the day, and almost every seat is taken here. It's definitely one of the most exciting events. Eric, you said it's one of your favorite events on the FD circuit.
Not only just because of the track, but I know some really good guys up here. Some really good pro-am guys like Kyle Pollard and the guys I've known over the years. Just good times hanging out. and the weather's a little more like home for me. New Jersey at the moment is killer. It's like 105 degrees the other day, so we had rain here yesterday. It was nice and cold. Today's a little warmer, but I love this place. It's awesome, and the crowd as well. Just the atmosphere here, huge grandstand. It's awesome.
So the judge's decision is in. Walker Wilkerson will be moving on. It was a unanimous decision. I think the steering corrections from Denofa were a little bit too much for him to overcome versus the proximity. I know the judges like to see a smooth drift throughout the run in the course, and I think that lack of smoothness is really what did it in for Denofa.
It was, very close, tough one to call. Neither of them had clean chase runs, but
definitely a good cheer from the crowd supporting their local hero. They're very clear on who the local drivers are and familiar with guys like Walker and Nikolai Constantino a couple years ago. Here we go with Matt Powers up against Kyle Pollard, another guy that you were talking about earlier. Kyle Pollard's a lone four-cylinder left in the top 32, lone SR20 I should say. Matt Powers having a good run, nice and high on the bank. Kyle Pollard trying to reel him in. It's a good opportunity here for Kyle to possibly try and close that gap, but it doesn't look like he's able to do that. That torque from Matt Powers goes one way. Smooth run from Powers on his lead. Pollard, no major mistakes, but I think that lack of proximity and a little bit shallower line on that outside clip after the power alley might affect his score.
Yeah, Kyle's another local guy who was previously a Corolla driver, so we used to hang out a lot, but he's really got this car figured out for this event. He had previously had a lot of transmission issues, but he's not as close as we'd like to see, and also a little low on the bank. A couple of corrections. Matt is up there putting down a pretty clean qualifying line, and right here Kyle comes in noticeably slower actually. I think it really hurt him. He just didn't have momentum to get himself out to the wall, so shallower, a little more e-brake than Matt, and finishes against a couple of car lengths behind, so not an ideal chase run, but anything can happen. Definitely, I think Kyle's speed is probably a little down compared to Matt, so Powers might have a hard time holding him back in the bank. We'll have to see what his tactics are.
So we're going to switch those cameras again. One of the couple of sponsors of Matt Powers are supporters of the Drift Stream. Make sure and support the companies that support the Drift Stream. Motegi Wheels, Nitto Tires, they're both big supporters of Matt Powers. We're actually going to have him a little bit later during our halftime interview show. So get a little bit of feedback on this. You see the VLEDs starting line, lights go out, cars take off. Here we go with Kyle Pollard leading. Matt Powers going to give chase. Pollard initiating pretty well. Higher, good, much better smoke from Pollard this time around than Powers. Powers still behind him. It looks like he's going to take that slow and steady approach and reel him in over the course. This is the best opportunity here through the power alley. There you see Powers sucking in close to Pollard. Pollard's just going to continue running his line out towards that outside wall. Much better run from Powers overall. A lot closer to Pollard and a lot more smoke than what Pollard was able to generate on his follow run.
Like Kyle's did run definitely a lot better than chase run. Like he was high in the bank, had good speed, but I think Matt had the cleaner chase run. But Kyle's up there. Tons of tire smoke, good speed, and there's a decent sized gap. About the same maybe that what Kyle had behind Matt Powers. But I think Matt overall just cleaner. Watch comes in here to the infield, nice and smooth, and really gets back on Kyle Pollard's door. Nice and close, a little shallower, but as I said, clean and smooth, which is another thing that's emphasised in the driver's meet. They want the track to look like more fluid motion, no corrections. Not like you're doing the track in different zones. And I think Matt probably just did it a little better.
Unanimous decision from the judges. Matt Powers will be moving on. Great run from Kyle. I know he doesn't have a whole lot of FD experience, but it's good to see a local guy coming out, taking a stab at the big boys, and that one of the last SR20 car in the competition today, the top 32, just got knocked out unfortunately.
Yeah, pretty advanced SR setup as well for the guys at PSI. I know they use a Neo BBDI kind of head on that SR, and it generates a ton of power, a pretty low boost. So that's, I think if you want to be competitive in FD with an SR, those the PSI guys haven't figured out the car. It's definitely got the speed, and like I said, Kyle had a lot of transmission issues in that car, and I think now that he finally starts to get some good seat time, I think we'll see him definitely climb the ranks a little bit.
So this next battle, Pat Mordaunt on the right, our fourth place qualifier, Jonathan Castro from the Dominican Republic on the left. Good to see that windshield back in Jonathan Castro's car. He had an issue in practice His hood flew up, smashed his windshield. Looks like they got a replacement. I believe they took it off Corey Hosford's car. So Pat Mordaunt going to be leading as the higher qualified driver. That car has substantially more horsepower than before. You'll see him higher on the bank than he's ever been. Good smoke. Car has a whole different sound to it. Looks like Castro trying to suck in, but going a little bit wide, losing drift there. Not sure what's going on here. Staying close to Mordaunt. There, Mordaunt pulls away. You see Castro taking out that clipping point. Oh, a spin! A spin from Mordaunt. That is not going to be a scored run for Mordaunt. According to our criteria, one of the 8 criteria was a spin when leading means a 0 in tandem.
Yeah, Pat started off really good and has really impressed me this weekend. His runs have been incredible, but right from mid to the late part of the bank, things just started going wrong. So watch his entry into the power alley. He's super shallow, like way off the outside line where we just want the cars. And it actually affected John Castro, but I don't think he was expecting it. Yeah, very tight to the wall on the right, offline. And then here it's as if, I don't think this is a gear or something's going on. And definitely affects Castro behind him, but the nail in the coffin, I think, is a spin by Pat Mordaunt. But he didn't, as soon as he was coming down off that bank, it did not look right. He did not look comfortable, and I think he was fighting the whole way through that infield. He just, if you don't come down with the right line off the bank, it really affects your momentum through the whole infield. And I think he was trying to recover right from the get-go as soon as he came down way too close to the right side up by the barriers.
It'd be interesting to see how the judges score that follow run from Castro, because there definitely was some corrections, definitely some understeer.
So whether it was caused by Pat's irregular line or just his own doing, we'll have to see. But definitely the last turn might be the defining factor, I think, in that one.
So if that run is a 0, this could be make or break for both drivers on this second run. So Castro's going to be leading, the 29th qualified driver. Pat Mordaunt's going to be chasing the 4th qualified driver. Here we go. Castro initiated a little bit earlier than we've seen throughout the weekend. You see him dropping down on the bank a little bit. Much higher line from Pat Mordaunt. It's much more difficult to run that high line. Some good smoke coming from Castro off that bank through the power alley. Pat kind of washing out, getting wide. We want to see closer proximity to Castro. Oh, and Mordaunt tags the wall again. Mordaunt unable to finish that run in drift. That could potentially be considered a 0 as well. I think Castro had a pretty smooth run overall.
Yeah, like Pat was awesome on the bank right here. As a chase car, it's hard to be higher up than your lead car, but he was way up there compared to Castro. So again, it started off really good, but things started to go wrong when he went into the infield. Look, Pat right up there on the barrier. Castro's down like in the second lane. But again, Castro takes quite a shallow line in. Pat follows him in, but then completely washes out on his left turn on the infield. Not quite sure what he was doing, or again, maybe he had a clutch issue or missed a gear, but he completely washed out, and then I think trying so hard to make up some ground, tags the wall right there, and without even considering the wall tag, he drove straight off course. So I think that's the end of that.
Jonathan Castro is going to be moving on to his first top 16 of the year. Again, Castro from the Dominican Republic. You can see the thumbs up from the finish line guy, Mr. Sesso.
That's a great result. Castro, I think, really is. He struggled, I think, in the early part of the season, in obviously an all-new car and everything for him, new team. That's awesome. Great to see. He's definitely looking good this weekend.
Kind of interesting to note that this is a track that international drivers have tended to do well. Yourself, Eric O'Sullivan, you had a podium here in 2009. We had Akubo and Seigo Yamamoto back in the day. Kenji Yamanaka has had a podium back in 2007 here at Seattle. So, although bank tracks aren't common outside of the U.S., something about it, some of these drivers are figuring it out.
It really is, and although this layout doesn't flow as well, the clips are usually the case that it's so fast and flowing, and some of these drivers
here we go. Matt Field's going to be leading. Takono going to be giving chase. Matt Field from NorCal. Takono much lower on the bank. You'll see him. Oh, there he is, losing drift completely, having to reinitiate at the exit of that bank. Matt Field's going to just run his line, stay nice and smooth in that bright colored S14 with an LS3 motor in it, sponsored by CX Racing. Finishing across the finish line. Smooth, kind of conservative run from Matt Field, but definitely some major mistakes coming from Takono in that Corolla.
That's unfortunate. Tako was looking really good this weekend. and qualified good, but that's you know, it's a straight, and I guess exactly, you know, he lost drift and drove a portion of the bank, but he certainly, that's the first big mistake I've seen him make all weekend. The attack has been really good, always high on the bank with good speed, but I'm not sure what's going on here. He just is on a lot of angle and it pushed him down a couple lanes and then a complete straight. And so, you know, Matt's just doing his job as a lead driver, just basically on the qualifying line, which was pretty decent. And Tako's got it all to do in his lead run, which, you know, in your lead run, there's not really a lot you can do, unfortunately. So,
yep. Got to run your line and hope for a mistake behind you, really.
That's all you can do.
So, definitely have some beautiful weather here in Evergreen Speedway. About 45 minutes outside of Seattle, our lone stop in the Pacific Northwest. I know we have a lot of fans that come down from British Columbia, other parts of Canada, up from Portland. This is really a diverse crowd. So we're going to see Takono leading the turbocharged Corolla. Matt Field going to be giving chase. Takono really pulling a pretty big gap on Matt Field. Kind of surprising. Pretty shallow angle from Field as well. Coming off the bank. Oh, that's more than 2 tires off. Taka way off the line there. Transitioning back through the power alley. Oh, looks like he lost drift as well. That's going to do it for Takono. So unfortunate driving. Taka's had a major crash a couple years ago in a similar Corolla. Actually broke his foot here in Seattle.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. It started off looking really good for Taka, more like what we've seen from this weekend. Real high on the bank, like pulled a big gap on that field, like good speed. But he just started to shallow up coming out towards the other clip. You see here, real straight, and he just had way too much speed. And as soon as you get out a little wide there, of course, all the marbles, all the rubber debris is out there, and you know that there's no saving it. So yeah, 2 wheels off right there is going to be a 0, and then just the final nail in the coffin is over rotating and almost spinning. I think that's it for Taka again.
Again, Takono's one of Takono's sponsors is Next Tire, who supports the drift stream, as well as Turbo by Garrett. Support the sponsors who support the drift stream. This is free to all of you who are watching around the world. I know we got your friends back home in Ireland.
Yeah, I'm sure Ian Bergen and Big Bro and a few of the boys are watching in Dublin, and like I said, all over Europe, supporting like Freddie Osbo, Kenneth Moan, a lot of the Norwegian guys are watching. So it's great, yeah, it's great service and it's easy access to, you know, it has to be the biggest drift series in the world now.
Reese Millan from New Zealand actually spoke with the former FD driver JT Warrer, who's watching in New Zealand, said that he'd be tuning in today, so this could possibly be the biggest battle of the top 32 coming up. Chris Forsberg on the right, Reese Millan on the left. Forsberg is in 5th overall, Millan in 7th overall, a huge championship implications. Forsberg leading, staying high on the bank. Good smoke from Millan. Forsberg's car is definitely the loudest car on grid. Oh, tags the wall. See his bumper coming off. Better angle from Forsberg through the power alley than Millan. Millan slowly reels him in over the course of the track. Great smoke crossing the finish line. That Hyundai Genesis really has a ton of smoke that it generates through the course. It's one of the tougher cars to follow, as we'll see them switch here.
Interesting battle. Either I think Chris or Reese have looked too solid all weekend. In practice, they both look kind of shaky, but Chris managed to play a really good second qualifying run from the first run, which put him in like 28th place, you know. So this could go either way, but started off good, but just going towards the end of the bank, Chris started pushing up, and then tags the wall just at the outer clip, and definitely forced him to correct ever so slightly. And Reese is right there. Much better line from Chris down to the power alley into the outer clip, but Reese is pretty close, but like you said, a lot less angle. We'll have to wait and see if that wall tag and a definite slight correction is going to affect Chris's score.
Both these drivers are on hand-cooked tires, so very equal rubber. Some rubber that you're familiar with as well.
Yeah,
you've driven on them for a while.
Tire, yep, absolutely. It's unfortunately we never got it in Europe, but I used it over here in the States on the STI, and absolutely incredible tire that I always found I had too much grip for the horsepower I had, in fact. But it's at least we know now as far as tires go, this is a dead even battle. But Chris's big V8 as opposed to Reese's V6 turbo, you know.
Both these cars actually, I think, have very similar power levels. I know Reese Millan was touting well over 700 horsepower at 700 pound-feet of torque. And Chris Forsberg's crew from MA Motorsports has really put together a new engine package this year, a little bit different setup than they've run in the past as far as some of the tuning, and you can really hear the horsepower screaming from that car. So these guys are going to take off from the line, turbo by Garrett on Reese Millan's car. V8 power from Chris Forsberg. A little early initiation from Millan, a little shallower angle from Forsberg, a little bit lower on the bank as well. Coming off this bank, some good smoke from Millan. Here we go, back to the transition. Now this is where Forsberg, whoa, tight on Millan. But Millan's able to stick on the gas and pull away from Forsberg. Forsberg lost grip there. I think that might be all that she wrote for these two.
Yeah, this is what I was saying before about this new, the new clipping points they have here for this year at Seattle, and that bottom clip, the last outer clip on the infield, is so hard to get to. You really have to grind character on the e-brake, and it's just not friendly for tandem competition. And so that's, I think, what Reese was doing. But first of all, on the bank, Reese is up there, good angle, and Chris is noticeably lower down in the second lane, reasonably close for the speed that they're driving at. But coming down here to power alley, Reese definitely more smooth and drags it right out to the outer clip. But of course, what it does is makes, as a chase driver, you know, you see the car slowing down, and you think you have the ability to go in there and get the proximity, but you know, you almost have to park the car to get that outer clip, and I think that's what caught Chris out. You know, he definitely had more momentum, and all of a sudden had to slow things down really quickly, and you know, it made him straighten out slightly, and I think that's probably going to really make this swing towards Reese Millan.
Both these drivers have won here before. Reese won in 2008, Forsberg won in 2009. They also podiumed a second time. For Reese, that was in 2006, the first Evergreen Speedway event. Forsberg podiumed last year, losing only to Dai Yoshihara in the finals. So both these drivers have seen some success here at this track. But Reese Millan's going to get the win. Just off the camera, you got the thumbs up was given by Sesso over to Reese Millan. So Millan with an upset of the 5th place driver, Chris Forsberg. Millan's definitely been stepping it up the past couple of events. Looking strong overall. So lining up now is the 3rd place driver in the championship. On your right, Dai Yoshihara. And on the left, it's going to be Dennis Mertzanis. Both drivers in V8 powered S13 cars. The coupe on the right from Dai, and the hatch on the left from Mertzanis.
I think this is definitely another first round draw that you never want to get by Yoshihara, but Dennis has been looking really good this weekend, really strong. You know, we've seen Dai get knocked out 32 once this year in Atlanta, so who knows, we might see a little upset here.
This is definitely a track where anything can and will happen.
Absolutely. This first bank is so long that this is where we often see issues, you know, with more higher powered cars and slower cars. Let's see what Dai can do.
Dai's going to be initiating first. Dennis is going to be following. You'll see Dennis taking a little bit lower line, trying to get closer to Dai. Good smoke from both drivers. Extra angle from Dai as he exits the bank, but Dennis is able to handle that pretty well. Looks like Dennis' team has done their recon on this. Coming in, Dai is able to pull away around that first inner clip and the second inner clip. But Dennis didn't really make any major mistakes. You know, a little bit further behind, but he's also substantially down on horsepower. Judges sometimes taking that into effect. We'll have to go to the replay and see that.
Definitely a good run by Dennis. I think Dai has probably got the horsepower advantage here, you know, and definitely a little more traction. So he pulls some gap on the bank. Dennis starts off a little low, starts to bring it back up. And right here at the end of the bank, quite interesting. Dai does throw a ton of angle, but Dennis matches it really well. Look at that. You see the left front wheel going to full maximum angle. Not a problem for him. Does lose some proximity, but has a good clean line. A little shallower on the left turn of the infield to Dai. Like Dai's run is pretty much textbook qualifying run. Dennis was a little shallow, I would say, on the infield, but the way he matched Dai's angle coming off the bank was pretty impressive without spinning, or, you know, typically we've seen a lot of people hit the wall here actually due to people changing their angle and their speed there. I've done it myself, unfortunately, but that was awesome. I'm really impressed with Dennis. So
Dai
maybe slight
Yoshihara's
favour to Dai, but
yeah,
anything can happen, you know.
Dai Yoshihara's title sponsor, Discount Tire, is a supporter of the Drift Stream, and Dennis Mertzanis' title sponsor, Kendon Tires, is also a supporter. So great to see the sponsors of these two cars supporting this live free drift stream for you. Dennis Marzan is going to be leading now. Some shallow angle from Dye, looked like a little bit of a bobble on initiation, but able to close that gap. Some extra angle from Dennis, possibly 2 tires off there. Gonna have to be tough. Oh, Dennis taps the wall, and again, Dye continues the track. Gonna finish that out. I think this one's gonna be pretty easy to figure out.
That's so
Very
unfortunate. Dennis
move.
was having the run of his life right there. He was definitely on the line, but it might be hard to see in the drift stream. There's actually 2 yellow lines there, and the inner one was originally there for Thursday practice, and they added an extra little bubble, I guess, to give the drivers more room to come off the bank. So I'll have to watch. I don't think Dennis had 2 off. I think he was on that line pretty good, and he was awesome on the bank, like right up there. Dye is shallower, definitely lower, and then look, ton of angle by Dennis, and maybe it was off. Yeah, unfortunate.
Definitely 1, possibly 2, but in the end it didn't matter because he ended up into the wall.
Up until that point, I mean, to see Dennis up on that bank really smoking tires and putting on a ton of angle, that's he's definitely made some progress with the car, and yeah, that's significant damage to his right front. So
Dennis Merzanis is going to be joining us on the halftime show in a little bit to talk about this run, as well as his program with Kenda Tires. Dai Yoshihara is going to get the win. Moving on. That's actually going to set up a rematch against his former boss with Reese Millan. So
Yeah,
Dai
should be
versus
interesting.
Reese in the top 16. This is going to be a great top 16 overall.
Dai has been very consistent all weekend, but you just can never ever count out Reese Millan. He's just got more experience probably than anyone here, you know, and he's got the car, he's got the equipment, and it's definitely going to be one to watch.
So this next battle is going to be a battle between Justin Pollock and Jeremy Lowe. Pollock on the right in the Falcon Tire Mustang. Jeremy Lowe on the left in the Juku Racing FC RX-7. Of course, Justin Pollock started his career in an RX-7.
Yeah, pretty famous RX-7 that saw a lot of different looks over the years, but an awesome car, yeah. Jeremy Lowe's been looking really good, some really good lines on the bank. I think he struggled to put together a complete run, but certainly on the bank he's been up on the wall. He's tagged the wall a number of times, but managed to keep drifting. So, you know, if he can put together at least a good lead run, you know, JTP might have trouble staying behind. Like, he's definitely a slightly slower car. But, you know, we've seen stranger things happen.
Definitely. I think they're checking out Dennis Merzanis' car off track. Trying to figure out how to handle that. Again, a packed crowd. Yeah, we got the tow truck coming out to take care of Dennis's car. We'll have a little bit of downtime.
Go for Anthony.
Maybe we can catch up with you, Eric. I know a couple weeks ago you got to drive again at the East Coast Bash. Get out there in the solstice and tear some tires up.
Yeah, apart from the 100 degrees heat and crazy humidity, it was one of the best weekends drifting I've ever been involved with. I mean, Petty and all the Club Loose guys have such an awesome vibe going on at those events, and they've such an awesome facility at Englishtown. I mean, they really have to run at the whole road course. Englishtown are very good to them, and it was incredible.
So you can
weekend.
see us right here. We're in the left, right above the C in the NASCAR. Cutting away from us. Here we go with Justin Pollock. This battle should be interesting to watch. Looked like Jeremy waited a little bit to initiate to try and catch up to Pollock, but Pollock's got tons of smoke coming off this Mustang. Ooh. Possibly at least one tire off from Pollock, possibly two. We'll have to check that. Some good angle from Pollock through the power alley. Jeremy Lowe trying to keep up. Definitely doesn't have the horsepower of that Falcon Tire Mustang. That Mustang's probably one of the most powerful cars on the grid this weekend. Some mistakes from Jeremy Lowe, but also possibly a major mistake from Pollock with the tires on that yellow line, possibly even over them.
Yeah,
We're going to have to look at this replay
really
and check
good
it
run
out.
from Jeremy Lowe. Again, he's not afraid to just bank one bit. He just initiates with a little bit of e-brake, and Jeremy just launches it in on the clutch. I mean, that's commitment right there. And yeah, Justin, I think it's inevitably going to pull away somewhat on the bank, but Jeremy's up there just as good a line, good angle. And I think JTP is very close to being off course there, and Jeremy Lowe did what he had to do. You're told to, you know, follow that lead car wherever he goes, you go. So who's penalised here? If that's the case, I'm not really too sure. But Lowe definitely impressed me this weekend. He's killing it in definitely
So we're
an underpowered car in comparison to these, you know, the Ford Racing power and these Mustangs.
Yeah, we're hearing from the judges. They want to see that replay again. Want to see a slow down right near the yellow line to see exactly what happened.
Jeremy Lowe's entry right there. A little later, but he just launches that in there. No fear at all. Off the bank.
Let's see, here we go, coming around. Again, it's this outside line. There's one tire. I think that might be two.
Oh, it's got to be two. It's got to be two.
So that's going to be a 0 from Justin Pollock.
Yeah, like that's Jeremy Lowe did his job, and he followed Justin out there. Had a good clean run behind him. So.
Wow, this could be a major change.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it just yet, but Jeremy down a good clean lead run, which is, like, if he can do that in his chase run, there's absolutely no reason why he can't put down a killer lead run. I really hope he puts it together.
So we're going to get all of our cameras squared away. Once again, NBC Sports channel starting in August after the Olympics. Glad you're tuning into the Drift Stream, formulad.com/live. Tell your friends. Jump on here, check it out. Buy some FD swag, shopfd.com. Support the sponsors, support the Drift Stream. Oh man, we've got 2 more events in the season after this. It's hard to believe we're already on the 5th event. This has been a great season. So here we go again with Jeremy Lowe leading. Sponsored by Junior Racing. He's got Falcon tires on his FC, followed by the Falcon tire Ford Mustang of Justin Pollock. High on the bank, good smoke. Coming around, you see Justin Pollock closing that gap. Let's see how Lowe handles this exit of the bank. Much better, much smoother than Pollock. There you go, Pollock sucking in close. There he gets in tight on Jeremy Lowe, reminding him that the Mustang is still there. Great follow-on run from Pollock. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you're supposed to follow at Evergreen Speedway.
Yeah, well, if you want to know how to drive this bank, watch Jeremy Lowe enter this bank. He is absolutely nuts. Look, we got banners coming down over there because of him, and man, that lead run was awesome. Definitely, little correction because he tagged the wall at a wall that most drivers can't even get out to. Like that outer clip was such a problem qualifying, and man, of course Justin had a great chase run, but Jeremy Lowe's lead run was just killer. That was incredible.
So we're trying to, looks like we got a little bit of a traffic jam.
Yeah, I'm
trying to tow Dennis Merzanis' car off. Go back to Justin Pollock's lead run to look at that tire situation again.
I mean, we're always told at least is, you follow that moving clip point that is the car in front. So,
yeah, you can't fault Jeremy for following him out there on the line, but it's up to Pollock to follow the requirements that are set out.
Yeah, now watch this entry from Jeremy Lowe. This is nuts. He's taking banners off the wall. This is incredible. I honestly thought he was dead meat right there, but just keeps it pinned. He's a little down a little early, maybe mid-bank, but picks it back up the outer clip and middle of the track, not trying to do what JTP did in the first run and go off course. Tags the wall but maintains drift. I mean, to me that was a very exciting lead run from Jeremy Lowe. Maybe not a perfect line coming off the bank, but man, that that's a lot of pressure to have on your shoulders. JTP sitting behind you, and I'm sure you could hear that V8, but man, that was awesome. And
as a privateer going up against the guy who is leading the point standing.
Well, that's what this sport should be all about, I think. I think for a few years it was very hard to compete. Before the tire rule came in and stuff like that, you had cars with mental horsepower and big tires, but the FD tire rule is definitely taking effect. As we can see here, I think it's given a lot of Pro-Am guys that come up through the ranks and privateers a really good chance to get up into the top 16.
So I see one decision come in from one of the judges. Interesting. Judges are going to have to figure this out. Again, definitely if it's not sold out here yet, I don't know how, because we're seeing people standing as far as we can see, almost all the way to the pits. Evergreen Speedway is one of the best places to watch the Formula D circuit. I think we're trying to get a replay queued up again as well. Might be a good time to thank some of our sponsors: Achilles Tire, Hankook Tire, Nitto Tire, Discount Tire, Nexon Tire, Yokohama Tire, and Kanda Tire. Still waiting for the decision, so we will thank some more of our sponsors: Universal Technical Institute, Enki Wheels, GoPro Cameras, Garrett Turbos, Motegi Wheels, U.S. Air Force, and Juku Racing and ACT Clutch. Again, Juku Racing is the sponsor of Jeremy Lowe. Here we go back to that replay. Judges are seeing what you see live on the drift stream. One, definitely, it has to be 2 lines, I think. 2 tires off right there.
And looking
From
back
that
at Jeremy,
angle,
I don't even know if he had 2 off. He definitely had 1 off, but he was a little shallower, you know.
it looked like that. The way that line cuts through, if it's going under his rocker panel, I almost have to believe that second tire has to be off. Judges are still deliberating, trying to figure out what's going on. So again, Evergreen Speedway. Our next stop is going to be in August in Las Vegas. So if you're anywhere in the Vegas, Arizona, California, Utah area, be sure and check it out. Buy tickets, FormulaD.com. So far, every event this season has been a packed house. It's been extremely busy. So we're going to be coming up here, still waiting for the judge's decision. Myself, Jacob Leviton, add me on Facebook, Jacob Leviton Drift, Eric O'Sullivan, driver of the Subaru.
At one point, yeah.
At one point, and then a Solstice for Gardella Racing. So came out here to help out one of your buddies.
Yeah.
Mr. Tyler McQuarrie, who...
Yeah, spotted for Tyler, yeah.
Yeah.
Who unfortunately didn't have a good day at the track yesterday, you know, just had a hard time putting it together. Going qualifying time, which is very unfortunate for him, but failed to make top 32. But, you know, car's in good shape, everything's good to go for Vegas, so I know he'll come out swinging. And, you know, just take a little time to feel out the Camaro, obviously. And after that, you know, a couple of actually big accidents at Wall Speedway in New Jersey, I think you know, a lot of Thursday took him a little time to get up to speed, but his Friday practice was awesome, but just had a couple of unlucky runs in qualifying.
So it looks like there is a decision. We do see a decision. So here's the situation. One judge voted one more time. The other 2 judges voted together for Jeremy Lowe. So Jeremy Lowe is going to be moving on. You hear big cheers from the crowd, cheering for that underdog. Justin Pollock, the leader of the points championship, right now is knocked out in the top 32. This is going to shake things up. Pollock was leading last year until New Jersey had some issues. And now he's been leading the series this year.
Yeah,
Pollock spent some time in Oregon for a while, drifting before he started his professional career. So spent some time in the Northwest, but the crowd really likes to hear that the privateer.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one reason why I absolutely love and at the same time hate this sport. I mean, you can be a complete hero on top 32, or you can just ruin your whole day and really potentially mess up your championship run. You know, it's definitely like when it comes down to tandem. You know, I think people automatically think that as you go up in the ranks and you get to the final, things get harder. But really, the first round, for me, is always the worst because you know you got to get those nerves out. There's so much at stake. I mean, you can throw away so many points, and Justin's going to be hurting after that.
So
you know, really does so. Well, congratulations, Jeremy Lowe. I have to agree with the judges. I think he killed it on both his runs. If JTB hadn't put those wheels off, it would have been, I think, definitely a close call. But that's not what happened. JTB had 2 wheels off, and Jeremy Lowe's leader on them was pretty good run. Just enough to give him the win.
So this next battle is actually a battle of your former teammates.
Yeah, look at that.
You've got Ryan Turk, who's going to be leading in the Retax S13, who was your teammate over at Gardella Racing.
Yep, last year Ryan drove Camaro, that's right.
And then Robbie Nishida in the Achilles Tire SC300, who was your teammate in the Hankook Tire team with Group S Dynamic Auto Sport.
Robbie's one of the coolest guys you'll ever meet at a drift event. You know, awesome, down-to-earth guy. And he's been drifting as long as I've been straight driving. I mean, I don't know anyone drifting longer than Robbie Nishida. He's got so much experience, big time Corolla guy. we always have such a good time hanging out, and you know, he's really actually started putting together this weekend. All new car this year, but it is right-hand drive. It does have a very similar engine package to Saito's, you know, the crazy horsepower. And yeah, although he had a slow start this season, some issues, but Robbie has a really good, from Thursday right up to today, he had a differential failure, I think, last night in practice, some sort of driveline problem, got it worked out, and looked good in practice, and you know, it's going to be tough. I mean, definitely making a lot more horsepower than Turk. In the Retax V8 S13, I mean, it's a mildly tuned V8, but Turk is usually pretty consistent, and he's so familiar with the S13 chassis at this point. You know, he has his missile car that he comes out, hangs out at Englishtown, does all the Club Blue stuff. He also has his GT powered S13, so he's very comfortable in the car. This is definitely a tough one to call. Yeah.
And the difference in qualifying scores for these guys was 1 point. So we're really not talking about a substantial difference between these two cars. You know, Ryan Turk is definitely at home in the S13 chassis. Robbie Nishida, he's got some good experience in the SC. He's actually mentioned yesterday when I spoke with him that he's more familiar with the JZX chassis, the Chaser, but still Toyota powered, still 2JZ. He's definitely been stepping it up this weekend. You see the banners being repaired, I think.
Thanks to Jeremy Lowe. Yeah,
yep,
you know,
Jeremy
you're good
Lowe.
You're taking the barriers off the wall. I mean, such an awesome run. But just thinking about qualifying, and Ryan Turk, I think was the only guy I saw that was able to get the 2 outer clips on the infield, which he did by pretty much smashing his car off the wall and dragging it the whole way around. So I'm just thinking, if you know, potentially Ryan on a lead run comes in here and is able to do that again, it's going to be very hard for someone to match him. Like, literally nobody could do it. The proximity sensors were not going off at all on that lower second outer clip during qualifying, and Turk did it. So I wonder.
Definitely during practice too. During practice, he was the most aggressive driver, especially through that area. So
I think what he lacks on the bank, maybe in horsepower traction, as opposed to the big power cars, he more than makes up for in the infield. And as we've already seen, you know, in the first half of the ladder today, that seems to be where all the action's happening.
You know, Turk's the one driver who hasn't really hasn't been on the podium in a long time. I think that the last podium he was on was actually here in 2010 in Seattle.
Crash, right?
He got a second place. There was a major crash on the bank in the solstice.
That's right. That's right.
And Turk was never able to podium in that Camaro that he drove last year. He did well in it, got a top 4 and a top 8 finish, but never a podium. So looks like that banner's just getting buttoned up. Everybody's jumping back in their vehicles. We're going to be drifting again here just in a few moments. Definitely another one of the great battles that we have in the top 32. So we're going to cut to a quick commercial while we tie this up.
It's 5:30 a.m. We got a car, a couple cameras. Gonna go have some fun. I can get closer. Here's the true test. Chris, let's see what you got.
Drink NOS, now with Complex 6 for high-performance energy and enhanced mental focus. Find NOS at your nearest Dollar General store.
So we're going to be coming back. To the drift stream. Again, this is going to be Ryan Turk on the right, Robbie Nishida on the left, 2 former teammates of Mr. Eric O'Sullivan sitting next to me.
I'm not calling it, but
I don't think you're allowed to pick a winner.
No, but you know, it's definitely like 2 very different machines and 2 very different styles of driving. So
Turk, as the higher qualified driver, is going to be initiating first as the lead car. It looks like Robbie initiated almost at the exact same time. Here we go through the bank. Robbie taking a much higher line on the bank. Oh, big crash from Robbie Nishida. Turk's going to have to ride out the rest of this run on his own. Still some pressure not to spin. Looks like he's able to keep drift through the entirety across the finish line. Good for Turk for being able to keep his composure, knowing that there's no car behind him.
Well, I'm pretty sure Turk didn't know what was going, in that position you're just doing your run, but that was unfortunate, and I think it really started to go wrong from Robbie at the start of the bank. He did big e-brake entry, and Turk just came in with the clutch and kicked it in there and pulled some distance. And I think Robbie was trying so hard to make up that distance that he gathered so much speed mid-bank that he just couldn't slow the thing down. So right here you can see Turk pull away. And like when you're in that chase car, you are just trying to catch that lead car as much as you can. But this is the problem with this track. I mean, it's definitely not as fast as it used to be at that point. You used to come around this bank, maybe drop a gear and fire it into the power alley, but this much later outer clip has slowed down the transition from the bank to the infield so much. And like Robbie hit pretty hard. Looking down at his car here, his front left wheel is way back in the fender. It's not rolling. I mean, yeah, that's I'm pretty sure that's Robbie's day is done. Well, we'll see what they can do in 5 minutes, but it looks like a lot of suspension damage at least.
Maybe something to mention too. I know Irwindale and Wall, they're not actually perfect circles. Do you know if this speedway
I know from
is
driving
even?
it feels better. Irwindale, because obviously when they race regular circle track cars there, they're not up near the wall, so the track design really is more focused on middle to lower bank. When we run up by the wall, it is actually like 2 semicircles, I guess, meeting at a point. Yeah.
Kind of like a football
so
shape.
It catches you out. You have to, if you start high on Irwindale's wall and hold the high line the whole way around, it catches up on you real quick. But this, from my experience, isn't quite as bad. Let's look at the replay again. Like, Turk was just doing his thing, good line. Robbie was starting to reel him in, but I think it's that speed that inevitably just what hurt him. He tried to scrub off some speed with some angle, but the rear bumper just caught it. And Turk actually had a really good line out on the yellow painted line where the judges want to see it. Brings it in and does exactly what I said he was going to do.
Yep.
He's one of the few guys
on that outside clip
one of maybe
every
2 guys
time
that can do it. It's just such an unnatural line. You have to drag the car out there. Turk nailed it. I mean, that was like an awesome lead run from Turk.
So we're probably going to move on to the next round after this. Give Robbie 5 minutes. Now the 5 minutes doesn't start until the car is on the ground in the pits. So it's 5 minutes of working time on the car, not just 5 minutes of elapsed time. So they'll be given a chance to try and figure this out. I know the Achilles Tires team has some good mechanics over there.
Yeah,
Gary Castillo's very experienced in building drift cars.
Of course, and the good thing is that they can. You saw Robbie out having a quick look at the car, so you can get on the radio, tell the guys what spares they need to have ready, and at least be as prepared as they can be to get working on it. And if it is bolt-on stuff, shock, lower control arm, knuckle, maybe they definitely could do that in 5 minutes. Get the car back together. So let's hope they can do that. But obviously with an accident like that, Robbie would have it all to do in his lead run. And like we said before, all you can do in your lead run is hope that the guy behind you makes mistakes. So it's a lot to ask. But it would be great to see him back out here and at least finish on a high note.
Let's talk about Turk's car a little bit. I think it's a love it or hate it livery. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I'm not
quite
sold
sure.
on it. I'm a bit of an 80s kid, you know what I mean? I love 80s motorsport and 80s motorsport designs and stuff. So Turk's livery is definitely more new school setup than we've seen on some of the cars this year. Definitely, I think it's cool and it definitely appeals to a certain percentage of the crowd. But my thing, I don't think really. I'd definitely keep it more simple. Straight lines,
too
angles.
fixed gear for you.
You know me, yeah, maybe.
Robbie's car. This car's black. It's been white the last several rounds. Got a new wrap on there, a new livery for Achilles Tire. So car still looks great, standing still.
Yeah,
Fortunately, not all the wheels are straight.
And it sounded awesome. Like I think that Robbie is definitely more comfortable in it. Like he was pinned on the bank, and it just sounded just like the Igo's car. That 2J screaming. It's just the coolest sound to me ever. I think I love the V8s, but it's hard to beat a big power 2J like that. Let's hope they can get it repaired. And Robbie has a lot to do, but it was just great to see him come back out and put down a good clean run. Shows what he can do.
So the good news is that although they're putting a little bit of kitty litter down to try and sop up some of the liquid, this is definitely off the course and off the line. So I don't think we'll have too much downtime. See Robbie's car missing the back bumper. Definitely some tubing work done underneath that trunk to keep the car light and trim. Of course, that tire to weight ratio coming into play this season.
Yeah, I think it's definitely even up the playing field a little bit. I'm all for it. Just look at what happened with Jerry Millan and JTP. He was out for them a great run.
Yep. Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, Formula D introduced a tire to weight rule last season, where based on the weight of the car, that's the amount of width of tire you're allowed to run. And this year, they really revised it to make it almost 400 pounds difference from what it was last year. So where they originally started, it was like a 3,000 pound car, is able to run a 315 tire. I think that's down to like a 275 or 285 width tire this year.
A great example is, of course, D-Mac's old Saturn Sky, which was what people used to call the rocket ship, because it was such a small car on a big tire with big horsepower. And I mean, you really just, it was so hard to catch D-Mac in his lead runs, you know, and that's, I think, where a lot of it came from. I remember the end of 09, they weighed everyone's car there, and they'll just try and get a baseline where everyone was at weight-wise. And it's taken a few years to get the right ratio, but I think it's definitely working. And I think Freddie Osbo is another great example. We saw him in Atlanta, and like he was able to chase down JTP, no problem with a turbo 4-cylinder.
Yep. And
that was the first sign to me, I think, really this year, that it's definitely working, and it's great to see maybe the V8 dominance sort of deteriorating a little bit and giving everyone else a chance, you know.
Osbo had a great run over in New Jersey the last round, and then had some damage in the transmission that didn't allow him to continue. So here we go with Frederick Osbo up against Pat Gooden. Pat Gooden, the privateer from Florida. Frederick Osbo, the Need for Speed Scion TC. Osbo just dumping smoke on that big bank. Pretty big distance behind Pat Gooden. Coming into your screen late from all that distance. Not even in your screen here. He's still on course, guys. Osbo's running the line for qualifying, hitting all the clipping points. Pat Gooden's just substantially behind. Finishing across for Osbo. This is a good, clean lead run. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, I think Road Atlanta this year was definitely, I think, a turning point for Freddie and this car. He obviously made it to the final and looked so strong. And again, New Jersey looked awesome. Had some issues that cost him a victory in his tandem battles. But this weekend he's been looking incredible the whole time, up on the wall, tons of tire smoke, a lot of speed, and he put down a really good run here, and managed to keep plenty of distance between him and Pat Gooden. Like, it just, like you see, like, that's like what, 10 car lengths right back there. This is all Freddie. I mean, good clean line, tons of smoke, and as I said, he is looking so solid in this car, not only this weekend but since Atlanta when he got to that final. It was like a turning point. Freddie looked so good, and the cars proven to be amazing.
And he's had the podium here last year.
Yeah,
I know. That the weekend that they had that tragedy in Norway with the shooting was on the exact same weekend as we had Formula D Seattle. But he's definitely stepped it up over the last year. This car is pushing out a ton of horsepower. One of the few 4-cylinder turbos left. I know the entire Scion team is actually 4-cylinder turbo. Holding it down for the little engines.
Yeah, it's great to see. Actually, we're waiting to see King Gushi, but he was also really strong this weekend.
Here we go. Pat Gooden's going to be leading. Looks like they're going a lot slower than the last run. Osbo should stay close to him for most of the run. See Pat Gooden much lower on the bank. That's going to be looked down upon from the judges. Osbo going to probably give him some room just in case, but remind him that he's still close. Only about a car length distance between these two guys. Coming across the finish line. Osbo didn't run that car all the way out to the wall. I wonder if they might consider that a small deduction on the line. But overall, a pretty clean follow run from Osbo. Definitely much closer than Gooden when he was following.
Yeah, and a real good job by Freddie, because this is the problem with this bank is so long. If you get caught behind a slower car, you can really be in trouble. So look at Freddie's front right wheel right there, left foot planted on the brake, trying to slow the car down, hold it back. Again, more left foot braking. That starts to get into the groove. He's up higher than Pat Gooden, matches his angle but higher on the bank. Huge bonus there. Follows him in, and then I'm sure once he drops the gear right here, he's in his comfort zone. Once you get it back, probably into second, just can literally steer through the rest of the course, no problem. And yeah, it doesn't run out quite as wide here, but I really don't think it's going to affect too much. Like his dominance, pretty much. Like his lead run, he was just out of the frame completely. And as a chase run, I mean, that, like I said, behind a slower car in this bank, it's so difficult to hold the car back. Freddie did an awesome job, and I really don't see it going any other way.
Osbo's going to get the win, moving on, beating Pat Gooden. Gooden supported by Injuku Racing, one of our Driftstream sponsors. Osbo supported by ACT Clutch and Hankook Tire, as well as Motegi Wheels, all Driftstream sponsors. So it's One of the Enjuka Racing drivers has moved on into the top 16. The other one is knocked out. Osbo is going to be moving on to face the winner of this battle, Ryan Kado and Alex Lee. Alex Lee, in his sophomore year, he drove a couple events last year in the same car. It's a Cressida. However, last year he had a 1JZ in it. This year he has an LS1 or LS2 V8 motor in it. A little bit different setup for this type of chassis.
Yeah, was it last year he made the top 16, I believe. I remember seeing him in the driver's introduction.
So.
A really great performance from him. Cool car. I'm a big fan of the JZX chassis. This thing is awesome, and it's really well put together. And he's been looking obviously really good this weekend. So, I believe Ryan Kado though has a ton more horsepower now, right? He's now got a turbocharged setup, BK setup in there. So,
Kado's definitely looked very good running through the course in practice. Definitely a lot higher, a lot more tire smoke than what we've seen in previous years from Kado. It looks a lot more comfortable, which definitely goes a long way at a track like this. So interesting to see what happens. Alex Lee knows his car very well. He's driven it for several years. Kado still getting used to this car. Only his second season, I believe. Here's some cheers for some
I think some
Serial 9 guys. Yeah, a lot of Cressida guys up here in the Northwest.
Awesome. Great to see them out here. And supporting Alex Lee, of course.
So Alex Lee, from British Columbia, did some of the Drift Mania West events. That's how he earned his Formula D license. But here we go. Ryan Kado's going to be leading. Alex Lee going to be giving chase. Coming into the first corner. Good initiation from both drivers. Neither car really has much smoke, so Alex Lee slowly reeling it in. Kado getting in close. Here you see through the transition, Kado's able to pull away a little bit, about 3 car lengths between the 2 cars. Neither driver really making a major mistake. Oh, as I say that, Alex Lee looks a little bit shallow.
Similar situation to Freddie's. We ran a little shallow there, and the judges did say they want to see you carry it right at the outside, but see if it affects the score. Looking at the replay, I think he was a little bit hesitant on his initiation. He let Kado go maybe a little too much, so he had a lot of work to do to reel him back in. But he does good. Both cars are up high on the bank. Alex Lee has definitely more smoke. He's on the power, but he's a shallower line into the infield, and then parks it a little bit here at the left turn of the infield. And Kado definitely has a cleaner line, put some distance. But right here, the judges want you to carry out the wall and continue that line to the left corner, if you like, of the finish line there. But he was definitely to the right of centre, and looks like he's got a ton of angle coming through that last turn, and he had no choice but to nail the throttle and just aim for the finish line, hope for the best.
If Alex Lee's car looks a little bit odd, that car is right-hand drive. It is a Chaser Cressida, Chaser from Japan, JZX 80 Chaser with the 81 front end on it. Right. So it's a little bit of a mismatch car, but one that's very popular in Japan for drifting. I know that both Daigo Saito and Robbie Nishida have a lot of seat time in those cars.
Chassis, yep.
So very capable chassis, definitely. Ryan Kado in the 350Z originally with the VK56 V8 motor, now paired to a Garrett turbocharger. So we're going to be, again, rearrange those cameras, get that start line all queued up, and we're going to be letting them rip here at Evergreen Speedway in just a few moments. Here we go. 5 LEDs on the VLEDs start line. Light up and go out. So here we go with Alex Lee's going to be leading. Ryan Kado's going to be giving chase second run. Lee with a good initiation, a little bit shallower angle from Ryan Kado. Lee's got some good smoke coming off his tires again. Here we go through the transition in the power alley. Good opportunity for Kado to get in close. You see him close that gap. Much closer gap between the 2 cars than what we saw when Lee was chasing. Lee tags the wall there a little bit. Kado finishes out the course. I think there might be an advantage going to Kado, but we'll have to see what the judges see.
Yeah, really good run by Kado. I mean, coming to the first turn, even at initiation, he was closer to lead than the previous run when Alex Lee was behind. But small gap, you know, Lee's great lineup behind the bank, tons of tire smoke, but Kado's thereabouts, and you know, a shallow line by Lee into the infield, not where the judges want you to see, but right here is where Kado, I think, seals the deal. I mean, just fires it into the infield, has good proximity, and Lee does tag the wall. I'm not sure if it affects his line much, very slightly, but I think Kado's line and his aggressive flick down into that left turn, I mean, he was just almost door to door. I think that's probably going to seal it for him.
Unanimous decision, Ryan Kado gets the win. He'll be moving up the point standings a little bit because he's currently in 17th, and Chelsea Denofa, who is in 16th, is already knocked out. So he's definitely got at least one position in hand. So up next on the schedule is Toshiki Yoshioka versus Tony Angelo. Yoshioka qualified 3rd in the RSR car. Very impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the fastest entries. Like, he just nails it down the straightaway and fires into the bank, like pretty much like nobody else. He's got a ton more horsepower in the car, and it's definitely taking full advantage of it. I mean, he was unreal to watch him enter the bank. So he's going to be, you know, on his lead run, he's going to be one of the hardest guys to follow in here. I don't know if anyone can really match his speed. And like, obviously qualifying 3rd, he's got the line down. He's, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if Tony Angelo can match him. It's certainly not going to be easy.
Again, a packed house. It's still very early in the day. We're going to be racing here till 9 o'clock p.m. It's only about 4:15 right now. We're going to have a little bit of a halftime break. Coming back at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m., one of those Pacific time. It all kind of runs together for us here at the track. But again, a great facility at Evergreen. One of the tracks that's really embraced drifting. That's new owners come in last year. And this year we're definitely seeing a change in the overall presentation of the track. A lot of new paint. All the bleachers have been repaired. There were some old bleachers that were kind of not in the best shape, but putting on their Sunday dress for the Formula D paddock.
Yeah, I know tomorrow there's going to be a drift day here tomorrow, so some of the FD guys are going to hang out. I know all the Drift Safari boys are here. They're going to hang out and just pretty much just have a drift day and hang out and burn some tires. So it's awesome that, you know, the Evergreen Speedway guys are you know, helping out the Pro-Am guys, not only Pro-Am guys, but just allow everyone to have a really great weekend here. Like, even after FD, just hang out, shred tires, do 5 or 6 car trains, you know, and have a good time. So yeah, it is a great facility, and you know, it's brought up like a lot of good drivers through the ranks.
And always one that seems to have a big crash. So we've seen Nishida crash already, but I feel like the big one is still ahead. You know,
this is definitely, I don't know if it's our highest initiation, but I think it's probably our highest drifting speed track on this bank overall. Here at Irwindale,
yeah.
But I think it's slightly faster. So, you know,
Vegas is pretty fast.
Fast entry, yeah.
Yeah.
But as drifting speed, you know, drifting on the power, this bank is so fast. So inevitably, when you've got that kind of speed involved, you know, there's going to be some big accidents.
Let's talk about an upcoming event, or an upcoming tandem battle. There is a potential for a rematch between Conrad Grunwald and Daigo Saito.
Potentially, yes.
So, in the top 16, both those guys win their top 32 battle. We could be going to one of the biggest rivalries we've seen all season. But before we get that far, we've got a pair of turbocharged cars coming up. It's very rare that we have 2 cars that don't have V8 motors in them.
Watch for Yoshioka's entry into this bike is so awesome, and it just gives him so much momentum around the whole course. So
yeah, Yoshioka has some new power. After they built that car, it's got a VQ35 motor from the 350Z in it, not the SR20 or RB26 that a lot of the Japanese cars have. And then it was retuned with a new turbo setup after it came back from Jersey, and is pushing well over 750 horsepower. 700 pound-feet of torque. So that car's got, you know, the power and torque to keep up with any of the V8 cars that are on the grid this weekend. Something that we haven't seen as much in the past years. So not sure what the back and forth communication was, but looks like we're just about ready to go between the 2 cars. Here we go. Looks like some issues with the start line, so we're going to do it the old school way with the drop of the hands. Toshiki Yoshioka is the higher qualified driver. Qualified 3rd is going to be leading. Tony Angelo, qualified 30th, is going to be giving chase. You see that power from Yoshioka pulling away from Tony Angelo. Wow, some amazing angle from Yoshioka Tony Angelo completely off the course. I think that was 4 wheels off. Yoshioka's going to finish out this course online with some good angle. Looked like Yoshioka dumped some extra angle at the end of the bank that perhaps Tony Angelo wasn't prepared for.
Well,
Angelo almost got lost out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
You could give that guy a map.
Like, just look at Yoshioka's speed. That's the defining factor here. No, I don't think anyone's going to be able to hang with him if he can consistently do this each run. I mean, I was full sure he was going off course right here, but he's just so fast entering his outer clip, but managed to hold it together. Oh my God!
Almost
puts on
backwards.
a ton of angle on the yellow line. I mean, that's insane. The craziest line off the bank I've seen all weekend.
Looked
awesome
like he
run.
scraped one of the banners off the bank and
While
left
he
it
was-
in the power alley.
While he was on maximum angle and on the perfect line. I mean,
Wow.
that's just unreal with huge speed.
Maybe something we could talk about. I noticed Yoshioka doesn't have any end plates on his spoiler.
Yeah, it looks a little smaller this weekend, yeah.
But, you know, that's something that you had some end plates on some of your cars, and
Yeah.
then some of the cars that didn't have end plates. How does that affect your grip?
I never mess around end plates too much, but with the GT wings, they definitely affect cars on banks like this. You'll notice Daigo when Daigo's removed the giant wing that he's well known for, and Yoshioka has a much smaller wing, yeah, and he's still like by far I think the fastest around this first part of the track. Like this is just Tony was trying to catch up, and I really don't think
Here's
anyone
the banner,
could have matched that.
and there it goes.
Yeah. Little present for the photographers down there in the power alley, but that was the craziest line or run even off the bank I've seen all week.
When you drove here, I think it was 2010, you were following Chris Forsberg, and he came off that bank and dumped a ton of angle that maybe you weren't expecting.
And I did exactly, well, I don't know if Tony hit the ball, but yeah, I tried to match it and tag my rear bumper and stuck the front end. So it's so, you're coming around this bank so fast, it's very hard to, visually, when you're leading, it's hard enough to see where your clipping point is, but when you're following, it's really difficult to figure out where you've got to slow down, and that's definitely one of the hardest parts of this track is getting off the bank cleanly, keeping some proximity without hitting someone or letting them go too far. It's just you're coming around there so fast, everything is happening so fast that it's hard to put it all together. But I don't think anyone's done it faster than Yoshioka, and Tony just. It's just not many people that can match that anyway, but Tony was having a hard time straight and down went off course, so he's got it all to do.
Of course, Tony Angelo driving that rear-wheel drive converted Scion TC, formerly piloted by Ken Gushi. So that's kind of a hand-me-down car for Tony. Stepped down from the judging panel this year to go back to driving, doing what he loves. So good to see Tony pursuing his career, going the way he wants to go. With everything, he's doing pretty decently overall. Still getting used to the car, still getting it back in the swing of competing.
Yeah, a new motor for this weekend, I believe. He's making good power again, and but had a transmission issue on Thursday, I think it was. I saw him taking a tranny out of the car, so hasn't been the easiest of weekends for him. Looks like we got a slight delay going on the start line right now, so.
Not sure what's going on here. We got three more battles, half of this one, 3 more full ones, and another half with the Ryan Turk and Robbie Nishida come together. So more than halfway through. Again, we're going to have a quick halftime break. We'll have some great guests up to talk about the weekend so far. I think now's a good time to thank our sponsors. Achilles Tire, Hankook Tire, Nitto Tire, Kenda Tire, Nexon Tire, and Yokohama Tire. So we're here now. Robbie Nishida is going to be unable to move on. So Ryan Turk will get the win. Ryan Turk's going to be facing against Jeremy Lowe, if you're keeping track at home. So unfortunate that Nishida was forced to retire from the crash. But again, I feel like that big one's still ahead of us here. Eric, you spent some time with Turk as your teammate. What do you think about him as a driver, especially this weekend? I feel like he's definitely stepped it up this weekend overall.
Yeah, no, Turk's an awesome driver. He has definitely a very different style to me anyway, but he just he flicks the car around a lot, uses the angle and drives with the throttle a lot more than I would. And, he had huge success at Salsas, obviously second in the championship. they had, didn't get any huge results last year with the Camaro, but certainly looked really good in it. I'm now back in an S13 that he's really familiar with. He's on Max's tires, of course, which was the tire he got that second place in the online championship with. So he's definitely with all new setup this year, so he's taking some time to adjust. But definitely one of the most talented guys out there, and you can't count him out, even though he's underpowered compared to the bigger guys. There's every chance that we could see him making progress today in the championship.
Not too sure what the delay is. We're up here at the top. You see the NASCAR at the top of your screen?
Yep.
The guys in that booth over there, that's the judges right above the E in Evergreen.
6 more. Yeah, I think, 3 more.
So, see a couple of open seats up there. That's actually the spotters area. So sometimes some of the teams leave that area after their runs in top 32 to start wrenching on the car for top 16. But otherwise, this is a pretty packed house and still extremely early in the process. Great sunny weather here in the northwest. Probably about 82.
Yeah, nice day today. Because yesterday
degrees.
morning we all woke
Good
up
breeze.
to a ton of rain and really cold weather yesterday, which had potential to mess with qualifying, but thankfully it did dry out for in time for FD qualifying. Never got dry runs, but today it's a different story altogether. Nice and sunny, probably about 80 degrees.
So this is a replay. This is not live action. This is a replay. The judges have requested a replay of this run. Not sure what the replay request was for, but perhaps they wanted to see if there was any tires off. Definitely more than 2 tires off for Angelo, so that should be considered a 0.
Yeah. I mean,
the start. We're getting word that the start is what they want to see. So let's see. It's a live shot. We're gonna go back to the replay to see the start. I think a little bit too far back. That was much earlier. Both cars left the line at about the same time.
I noticed that we do actually have a pace cone this weekend, which is something we haven't used in FD in a while, but the nature of this track and the long running that we have, it's one of the few places that, games can be played on big power cars and take a huge advantage. So I think it's good to see it back in use, and I think the drivers are told that, if they feel that someone has jumped the lights even and taken a jump start, they have up until the point of that cone to the side. They can put on the brakes, turn around and come back and request a restart.
So from what we've heard in the drivers meeting, again, there's that cone right between where it says Evergreen and Speedway on the straight. You have to stop by that cone in order to request a restart.
Yeah, if you
both
pass
drivers
it,
went through it, so
late,
I think that was a legitimate run.
Yeah, I think so.
We're gonna go back to the start. Tony Angelo making a big jump, try and get some distance on Yoshioka with less power. So Angelo initiates, starts losing his bumper. Wavering a little bit there. Yoshioka closes that gap pretty well. But Angelo's got that bumper hanging out from him. Yoshioka definitely a lot closer to Angelo than when Angelo was chasing Yoshioka. Angelo finishes out the line. Yoshioka not far behind him. So we're going to go back to a replay.
Yeah, I think Yoshioka knows that he's got a huge advantage here, so he's going to push it too hard, and being the faster car, he gives Tony plenty of space in the bank, doesn't want to mess himself up. Like, huge gap in fact. Tony tags the wall, starts dragging the bumper almost straight away, which is pretty cool, but Yoshioka just starts to reel him in. Tony's a really shallow line coming off into the infield, so Yoshioka, all he can do is follow Tony in there, and a pretty shallow line. Good clean smooth run by Yoshioka behind Tony through the infield, but I think the damage was done on the first run really, with Tony going completely off course. Yoshioka was just, going through the motions. Nice safe run, nothing major. Should be enough to get him through to top 16.
Yeah, so one of the things that is being mentioned is that as they cross the finish line, Yoshioka was kind of doing a rolling burnout, didn't have a lot of angle in the front wheels, and that's something that was talked about as being either understeer or drifting straight, and potentially a 0 in tandem. So we'll see what the judges say. But I think a decision has been made. looks like it was unanimous. So despite that rolling burnout crossing the finish line, the win is going to be handed to Toshiki Yoshioka. So Yoshioka will be moving on. So we're asking for a replay over here. Thought I saw the judges had made a decision. Maybe I was just imagining things.
Yeah, well, it seems pretty clear cut to me, so I'm not sure what exactly they're going to look at.
So one of the things that was also brought up is the hood, hatch, or trunk, hood, hatch, or doors opening up. The boot, the bonnet, and the doors.
Yeah, right.
But
Tony did in Wall. The hatch and that sign came out in Wall.
And Atlanta as well.
Right.
Had that hatch fly up that kind of caught Conrad Grunwald off guard. So, but nothing about bumpers falling off.
No, and of course all of that is only if without contact. If completely by itself your door starts open or a trunk opens, and that's you're going to get awarded 0. But you know, we see bumpers flying regularly, so I don't think that's a huge issue, especially when you got this wall here at Evergreen.
So we're just waiting for the judges to figure it out. Looks like they're trying to get another replay. I think this is a great time to thank our sponsors: Universal Technical Institute, Enki Wheels, GoPro Cameras, Garrett Turbos, Motegi Wheels, U.S. Air Force, Discount Tire, and Juku Racing, and ACT Clutch. Also want to thank our tire sponsors: Nitto Tire, Hankook Tire, Achilles Tire, Yokohama Tire, Nexen Tire, and Kenda Tire. I think we're going to be going to a quick commercial break.
I know guys like you sitting right where you're sitting thinking exactly what you're thinking. Like, how the heck do I find a job, start a career, or even change careers? And in this tough economy, you got to think harder and smarter. Look, there's only one place that guys like you, guys like this go when they're serious about a future as an auto technician. That's Universal Technical Institute. UTI gives you real-world hands-on training in classrooms like this, equipped by the industry's top manufacturers. We know how you want to learn, and we teach you in a way that clicks. So the technology you learn here is the same technology you'll use every day when you're working. The best brands in the industry partner with UTI. It's because they want these guys in their shops when they graduate. 4 out of 5 UTI grads get jobs in their field of study. UTI's tech training for people who are serious about being the best in the business. If you're motivated and ready to work, let's talk. Give us a call and we'll talk about UTI programs, campuses, and even financial aid. Your new career starts your first day at UTI. Are you ready? Call now.
So, a little bit of explanation of what happened. Tony Angelo's crew was saying that Yoshioka was messing with them off the line and not being fair. So they wanted to talk with the judges, but the judges reminded them that there was something discussed during the judges meeting, drivers meeting, that you have to stop before the Evergreen Speedway, the cone in the middle of Evergreen Speedway. And Tony Angelo kept driving. So Toshiki Yoshioka is going to be considered the winner of this event, or of this matchup with Tony Angelo. Tony Angelo is going to be knocked out. Yoshioka will be moving on to face the winner of this battle. Ken Gushi on the right in the Scion FRS, and Mr. Kenny Moen on the left. Kenny Moen had some clutch issues yesterday in practice, and they borrowed a clutch from the VQ35 motor in Dean Carney's car.
Yeah, Dean was able to help him out. They got a clutch in there. Kenneth said the car is 100% ready to go, and as usual, Kenneth, he's been super consistent since Thursday, really. Good line, he's been high up on the bank, and just, good, consistent line around the course with good speed. So Ken also was looking really good. Great line, but slightly down on speed in comparison to some of the other guys. So this should be a pretty close battle.
Yeah, both these guys have been doing pretty good overall this season. Gushi is sitting in 12th place. Moen is in 11th place. So Moen's actually sitting higher than Gushi in the points entering this weekend. Moen's got 206.5 points. Gushi has 196.5 points. So a 10-point difference between these guys. Moen in that championship chassis of Tanner Faust, former 350Z that flew the Rockstar livery with AEM and Bachis Racing. Picked up by Kenny Moen, shipped over to Norway, drove it over there, and decided to bring it back.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And a new motor for this weekend, too. They're making a little more horsepower. So the final two isn't complete. But he said that he's making some power, and he's not happy with that start. Yeah,
so we were talking about that whole situation of the restart, and you saw it being used right there by Moen. He didn't like the way that Gushi jumped the course, so he stopped, which means this is all for nothing for Gushi. So he'll have to turn around, get back on the start line, and we're going to redo this again. This is a great execution by Kenny Moen, showing that if you're not happy, there is a way that you can ask a restart, and that's by coming to a stop. And he definitely, right off the line, something happened. Not sure if he just couldn't get traction, but I think they're using the hand signals.
Okay. I wasn't really paying attention, but kind of shut it down pretty quick. He wasn't
yeah, he didn't get very far, that's for sure.
So, Ken spotters, his team are on the radio telling him what's up, and just have to line him up again.
I noticed that Kenny Moen flying that Nordic flag on his car. Maybe it was a little sign of good luck for Osbo last year when he flew that flag through top 16 and was able to make a podium. So I know those guys were over at the Gatpils Festival this weekend. Have you been able to make it over there at all?
Every year I say I'm going to get there, and now that I'm living in the States, it's certainly not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, Kenny flying the flag from his homeland, and I was talking to him about Gateville. He said it was just crazy as usual, but he was running he has a new Super and his old Super that he both had big mechanical problems with, so he didn't have too much fun, but by all accounts it was a great event.
Looking back at the start, you can see that Gushi's got 2 or 3 car lengths within the first 100 feet off the line. So Moen stopped right away, which meant that we're going to do a restart. So we're going to be going back, restarting this. Gushi is the higher qualified driver. He qualified 14th. Moen qualified 19th, a difference of, I believe, 4 qualifying points overall. Both drivers had scores in the 80s. So not a big difference in horsepower. Moen gonna have to wait for Gushi to catch up to him. Here we go on the bank. This is the part that counts the most. Gushi got a little bit higher line on the bank. Moen not far behind him. Some good angle for both drivers coming off the exit of the bank, back through the power alley. Moen takes a little bit more shallower line to try and catch up to Gushi. Really tight on that clip, that final clip across the line. Good smoke coming from Kenny Mullen's car. He's a privateer buying Falcon tires, while Ken Gushi is on Hankook tires. So let's go to the replay, see this again. Overall, good run.
Another sketchy start though, but this time it went the other way. Kenneth was, determined to get a good start this time. He had to wait for Ken. Back in behind him, but good. Both drivers a good run of the bank. I really thought Kenneth was going to make some contact here. He came in so hot, but put on some angle and was able to save it, and really awesome coming off the bank, so close to Gushi. But Ken runs it right out to the wall, the line that judges want to see, and Kenneth is quite shallow, unfortunately. He's way in on the inside clip, right the whole way around the corner. Finishes with good proximity to Ken, but I think predominantly there that is shallower line on the infield. It could hurt his score right now. They were pretty evenly matched throughout the course, but,
it may be a bit of a deduction, but I think overall not a bad run from Mullen. And that's definitely something to take into account.
That's probably the best tandem we've seen on the bank, and especially coming off the bank, which I said is the hardest thing to get right here. I mean, Kenneth was, I was full sure the contact was going to be made, but he saved it with a ton of angle and then just got back on the power and came into the first power rally section of the infield right on Ken, but Ken was able to carry his speed out to the wall and have a slightly better outside line. So not much in it, no major errors by either driver, just came down to a line difference. And we'll have to see what the judges think. But because Ken, of course, has effectively done 2 runs now, and Kenneth's done 1, I'm sure Ken is going to want to change tyres. So we might have
I don't know if that is actually a possibility, to be honest, because I think the rule is that once you start a tandem run, you're not able to finish it until both runs are completed. But
Ken is not lining back up; he's sitting there. So I think Gushi, I would say he's probably going to want to set of tires, but maybe he's not going to be allowed to change.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that's ruled, because Ken did finish the course. I'm not sure if he didn't see the flagger that was warning him. We're staring at that orange cone, that ominous orange cone right now. That's the one that you must stop by in order to request a rerun. And of course the crowd. Again, we're up at the top here where it says NASCAR.
That's our final inner clip we're looking at.
Yep.
The last turn, the last right turn, which is
you can see the line of people lined up on that bicycle
that's where
fencing.
We see a lot of action. I mean, it's a very basic turn, but being the last one on the course, we see a lot of action. It's very low speed, like second gear stuff. But I think last year with Turk and Forsberg, Turk spun it there, right? It was a pretty close run through the way right at the last turn. We've seen a number of people hit the wall, so you always get a good crowd down there, collecting body parts, tail lights, bumpers, whatever goes flying through the fence.
Again, Jacob Leviton, Eric O'Sullivan, we're your Driftstream pair for the top 32. So thanks for watching. Tell your friends, formulad.com/live. Go to shopfd.com, pick up some sweet swag. How's everything been going for you over in New Jersey? I know you're enjoying the States compared to Ireland,
yeah? It's been really, really hot and ridiculously humid, but I'm still working with everyone, all the Gardellas over County Line Auto Body, which I'm sure are watching the drift stream today, so big shout out to everyone at County Line. Doing as much drifting as I can up at E-Town where all the Club Loose guys. We had an East Coast Bash a couple of weeks ago. It was, like I said, the best weekend drifting I've ever been a part of. Just such a good time, a lot of awesome people there. I think we had 160 odd drivers, which makes it, I think now one of the biggest sort of grassroots sort of drift events that isn't such a competition, but just grassroots drift events in the States, if not
definitely
the world.
In the US.
It's just got so big, and it's so much fun. I'm really gonna have to try and get some of the lads from back home, the boys over here to take part in it, because it's just like nothing we have back home. The facility is awesome. You can run 2 tracks, so 2 separate groups on 2 separate tracks at one time, where we can link it all together and just smoke the whole place out. I mean, 10-car trains were going down into the night. It was just an awesome time. So that's pretty much all I'm doing, man. Working away and hitting the track as much as I can.
Again, for those of you watching who might be anywhere in the southwest area of the United States, our next event is going to be in August in Vegas, and then in October at Irwindale. Make sure and buy your tickets, formulad.com, because both events are likely to sell out. We've had a packed house at every event we've been to this season. Formula D is the premier sanctioning body in the U.S., and I would say in the world. Definitely a lot of drivers aiming to come here into Formula D competition and face all the drivers. We're seeing international drivers like Jonathan Castro, Frederick Osbo, Kenny Mullen, all coming over here to try and compete.
I think with all the drift series throughout the world, I think Formula D probably generates most exposure for you as a driver. It's huge publicity, Drift Stream for one, TV show, and the massive crowds. Like like the sellout crowd must be at least 10,000 people here, right?
I think it's right around 10,000 people in Seattle.
You know, that's huge exposure for any driver, which in turn gives much better opportunities for sponsorship and tire deals, etc. So, yeah, a lot of you see huge contingent of international drivers have come here, are still here, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. I think we'll continue to see more guys make their way over here.
I know you made it back over to Ireland for an event end of last season to kind of check out the local boys. Who are some of the names who are coming up over in Ireland that might be people to watch for in the coming years?
I was actually this year in April. I was back and I was at Pro Drift round 2 or 3 in Punchestown, and a lot of the regular guys are still killing it. James Dean, Alan Sinnott, Alan Lennon, but definitely because I have been kind of out of touch. There's a ton of guys up and coming that I'm not familiar with, but the Barry's Motorsports guys and John Paul McCartney, the guys in the BMWs are killing it. They've V8 and 36 going now. That was just smoking out the whole place. And it seems to be like a never-ending pool of talent back home, and it's great. And I hope we can really get some of the guys over here in the coming years. Economy-wise, I think everywhere's hurting right now, so it's becoming harder and harder to get sponsors in and come over here. But certainly no lack of talent back home. I think the Throwdown series still produces some amazing drivers, and they run a very similar format to Formula D, without run a lot of outer clips alongside concrete walls and barriers. There's a lot of damage, but it's good training, good practice for everyone. And I think the biggest hurdle coming to the States is just the left-hand drive. If you have to get into a car, left-hand drive definitely takes a good half season. If you haven't got much seat time previous, a good half season to get accustomed to, especially when you're dealing with outer clips, just to get familiar where the rear right of the car especially is. But like I said, the talent is absolutely there, and now that I'm based here, I'm more than happy to help guys come out here once we can. Hopefully the economy turns around sometime soon, and we can generate some funding.
It should be exciting. So if we give you a little side-by-side, again, myself, Jacob Leviton, with Eric O'Sullivan, 2009 Rookie of the Year, 2007 Pro Drift champion.
07 back in Ireland, yep.
One of those. Back in the day.
Good old days, driving Corollas, hanging out with boys.
So you saw Kenny Moen is at the line.
Did Gushi get to change tires?
I think they're giving him the opportunity to change tires.
I presume that's what the issue is. I think he's parked up.
So we're going to be cutting to a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a few. So we're going to be back on the drift stream. Looks like Ken Gushi was able to get back to the line after a quick tire change. So normally you are not allowed to change tires until you run 2 runs. Because of the missed flag by Gushi, he was allowed to change tires since he did go through 2 runs on the same set of tires. So this is the second half of the battle between Gushi and Moen. I think a guy named Ken's going to win this one. Not sure whether it's Kenny or Ken, but
definite possibility.
One of those guys is going to be winning. Here we go. Moen's going to be leading this time. Gushi's going to be giving chase. Here we go with Moen initiating into the bank. up on the line. You can see those banners shaking. He's definitely got the higher line from Kenny Moen. Ooh, at least one tire off. We'll have to check that later. Through the power alley, shallower angle from Gushi, but a little bit closer proximity than what Moen ran earlier. Out towards the wall, crossing the finish line, good smoke. So I think this may come down to that tire that was dropped by Moen.
He was carrying such crazy speed. Look at this this is pretty much how you run the bank here. He's so high, and you can see it because just you get high, you'll see what looks like black smoke, but it's actually all the rubber up there, all the marbles going flying out from behind the car. And look at that ton of angle. Now, I'm not sure which line we're seeing on the drift stream.
Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly
I'm not sure if we're seeing the inner or the newer outer one that they put in, but Kenneth with another great line out nice and wide, and Gucci
amazing
very similar
angle
to what Kenneth did in his chase run, shallowing up, you know. And like I said, this is going to be a big problem with this track. It's unnatural line. It's very hard to get out those two outer clips, and it's just as a chase car, it's almost like a trap. You know, you get sucked in there, and you can all of a sudden find yourself on top of a parked car. But
we're
Kenneth,
go back through the replay again because they definitely want to see the line.
Kenneth's wing is almost tearing those banners off the wall, but I don't know which line we're seeing here.
This is Moen leading, so that is definitely one tire.
But is that the inner?
That's the outside line.
No, 'cause look,
this is the inner.
I'm not sure.
Actually, you know what? You might be right.
I think because what happened was the original track layout was there, but then they added, I'd say, 3 feet of semicircular line over a space of 50 feet, and I'm not sure what we're seeing.
So Ken Gushi gets the win, unanimous decision. Gushi will be moving on. I think even if it was only one tire, I think that might have been enough of a deduction for Gushi to move on. So we'll be jumping over to the next matchup, a pair of NorCal drivers. Conrad Grunwald on the right, Tony Bracco-Giappa on the left. So, good old street racer style. Check the drivers, and away they go. Grunwald's going to be leading as the higher qualified driver, qualified 6th overall. And Tony Bracco-Giappa qualified 27. So, Grunwald a little bit lower on the bank than Bracco-Giappa. Tony B sacrificing a little bit of angle to create that proximity that the drivers want to see. Door-to-door actions, what we like to see here in Formula D. And Tony B is trying to dial it in. Ooh, looked like he lost some angle there. Conrad swinging it out to the wall, finishes the course with some good smoke. I think a pretty smooth run for Conrad, a little bit shakier run for Tony B.
Yeah, it pretty much looked like a really good qualifying lead run. You know, Conrad had a really good line, and nice on the bank. Like, Tony isn't too far back. Like, we've seen a lot worse, but he's definitely not. You know, he's making some corrections. Conrad's right up there, and look at this, nice out, nice, good and wide into the infield. But Conrad runs out the other clip, nice and clean. Tony has an issue here. I don't know whether he's misshifted or something's going on. Definitely
lost a lot of momentum.
So didn't completely straighten, but yeah, almost came to a stop. But I think all that 1,000 odd horsepower he has came to his aid and just nailed it. But great run by Conrad, textbook pretty much, and Tony had a few corrections and definitely lost momentum down there.
Seen a good pony car battle. The Mustang on the right from Tony B against the Camaro on the left from Conrad Grunwald. When we think of Mustang drivers and Camaro drivers, probably not the first two drivers that come to mind in this series, but definitely two guys that are familiar with each other, both hailing from the NorCal area. Both of them are driving instructors at racetracks, so they a little bit more familiar than the rest of the field, that's for sure. But here we go with the second half of the battle. Tony B is going to be leading. Conrad's going to be giving chase. Tony B with a little bit better initiation this time than last time. Staying high on the bank, making those Yokohama tires squeal. Here we go, coming down off the bank, touching the tire on the line, but I think he's able to stay inside the line. Conrad sucking into him. A little more gap from Tony B. Back around that inside clip, out to the wall. Some good smoke. I think that was a pretty decent set of runs from Conrad. I think Conrad probably had the advantage.
I think so. Tony actually put on a really great lead run here, but his chase run might be what hurts him here, because Conrad was really good on the chase, but Tony pull some distance, but I think Conrad's actually able to make it up towards the end of the bank. And Tony's on the infield was awesome. Like, there's their tire on that yellow line, which is what the judges want to see, you know. And it's so hard to do because visually it's hard to get your car there as a driver. But Conrad is you know, not putting too much pressure on Tony, but he's thereabouts, and a good, clean, smooth run as opposed to Tony B's chase run, which I think is probably what's going to be the deciding factor here. You know, no huge mistakes, but definitely some corrections in the bank from Tony, and you know, a definite loss of speed and momentum in the infield. So we will see what the judges have to say.
So the driver's going to wait the decisions. Judge is going to try and figure out what happened. Again, both runs are judged as a whole. We used to have a system where an advantage was given after one run, but we saw that some drivers weren't pushing as hard on the second run if they knew they had an advantage. So we moved away from that. Now both drivers are given an opportunity to lead and an opportunity to follow, and judged on the overall set of runs. So a winner is decided. Conrad Grunwald's going to get the win. I have to say, I think we both agree that was probably the right decision.
I think so, yeah. Great lead run by Tony, but he just hurt himself in his chase from unfortunately. But good to see him running strong. You know, it's that new Mustang setup he has on Yokohama tires. It's definitely coming together as the season progresses, and looking forward to seeing what he can do in Vegas and Irwindale.
So you're seeing two drivers in right-hand drive cars. They're on your left, but that's the driver's right. Daigo Saito on the left is the former D1 champion from Japan. Darren McNamara, the former Pro Drift champion from Ireland. Man you're very familiar with, Eric.
Yeah, and I had a good chat with Darren yesterday actually about this car. You know, the S15 chassis is definitely one of the nicest cars to drive. Good wheelbase, good balance, but he doesn't have a whole lot of horsepower. It's a very mildly tuned LS motor. And we all know Daigo's bunch of big power, so it's going to be very interesting.
Here we go. Darren was the higher qualified driver, so he's going to be initiating. Daigo's been struggling all weekend, trying to get used to this banking. A good high run. Oh, Darren into the wall. Continues on the track. Wow, that was a major mistake from Darren McNamara. He's going to try and finish this run out. But definitely a mistake that Darren's going to want to have back, because he had a good run going up until he tagged the wall and lost drift.
Yeah, big mistake from Darren, and kind of uncharacteristic, to be honest. You know, he said he's very comfortable in the car, and although it's, you know, definitely down on power in comparison to Daigo, you know, being comfortable often is more important in this sport, so that you can adjust to everything that's going on around you. But Daigo's few corrections on the bank, but Darren just comes in. I think scrubbing off his speed with angle obviously was a little too much, and not, you know, it doesn't even take the bumper off, not a huge impact, but enough to affect his line, definitely. And
yeah, major deduction. Probably not a zero unless they deem the two tires off to be a zero.
You know, if you when you got someone like Daigo Saito behind you, he's just going to take full advantage of something like that, and he just hung out and got back in behind Darren as soon as he got back on track. So but you know, as I said, Daigo hasn't been looking great actually all weekend, and not very comfortable. So who knows?
This chassis that Darren McNamara is driving is kind of been around a little bit. Started as Dai Yoshihara's Rockstar chassis, and then went over to the Falcon Tire Camp, was driven by Calvin Wan, was driven by James Dean, another Irishman, driven by Darren McNamara, I believe 2 years ago in Vegas for one event. So, and as you mentioned, it was V8 powered now. Daigo Saito is going to be leading the 2JZ power. Big turbo by Garrett. Tons of smoke coming off that car. Daigo really is getting the hang of this banking now, and Darren's going to try and catch up, put some pressure on Daigo, hope he makes a mistake, because he's definitely got a lot to overcome in that first lead run. Good proximity from Darren, but man, Daigo looks a lot more focused finishing this run compared to what we saw in practice and yesterday. Daigo had a couple of run-ins with the wall and just looked really shaky, but looks like he's finally figuring it out.
He is, and like Darren really trying his best here. I mean, he was super aggressive on the bank, but comes in on the e-brake, and Daigo gives Daigo a bit of an advantage, pulls away, and like I said, Darren is massively down on power in comparison, and is trying his best to catch up. But towards the end of the course, does a really good job. Like Darren is super aggressive tandem driver, and
all the cars, right?
as you can see here through the infield, does all he can do really. All he can do is put as much pressure on Daigo. Hope he makes a mistake, but like you said, Daigo seems to have got it together from a really rough and sketchy couple of days on the track, and I think that's going to be it.
So Daigo Saito got the win there, setting up a very interesting top 16 battle, a rematch with Conrad Grunwald. So
I didn't want to say much about it because I was, in my heart, I was hoping D-Mac would get through and face Conrad, but it looks like we're going to have a rematch.
Oh man, so our top 16 is set. This is going to be a very interesting matchup. Let's run down the matchups. First, you're going to see Von Gittin Jr. up against Mike Essa. Second matchup is going to be Walker Wilkerson up against Matt Powers, a pair of V8 S13s. Then Jonathan Castro will be facing Matt Field. Reese Millan will be up against Dai Yoshihara, his former teammate. Jeremy Lowe will be facing Ryan Turk. Frederick Osbo will be facing Ryan Kado. Toshiki Yoshioka will be up against Ken Gushi. And Conrad Grunwald will be up against Daigo Saito. Wow, if you've missed any of those runs yet before, go to justin.tv/driftstream and look up Conrad Grunwald versus Daigo Saito. There are probably 4 or 5 videos to watch because they've gone one more time, 2 or 3 times in each of the last 2 events. In New Jersey, it was a great battle.
Definitely something I'm looking forward to. Talk about a grudge match. I mean, I think Conrad was absolutely robbed in Jersey, to be honest with you, you know. So he definitely is going to want to win, and you know, I'm sure he feels he deserves it, so it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. Daigo certainly picked up his pace, but definitely one of the highlights, top 16.
So for those of you keeping track, it's about 5:05 local time Pacific. We're going to be coming back at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, so in an hour and a half, we're going to have our opening ceremonies, and then we are going to be moving into the top 16. Stay tuned, we're going to have a couple quick commercials, then we'll be coming back for a halftime show with some interviews with some of the great drivers of the series.
JukuRacing.com, your #1 source for all your performance parts needs.
To be good at one thing is an accomplishment. To be great at many is to achieve excellence and diversity. At Falcon Tire, we thrive on competition. Whether it's American Le Mans, Formula Drift, or off-road, we constantly push to be the best. We battle it out on the track so you can conquer your daily commute. Visit Facebook.com/Falcon Tire for your chance to win a 2013 Falcon Ford Mustang GT. Falcon Tire, we get you going.
Doc? Doc? Goose!
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Be one with it, and it will be one with you. Be one with your tires, and the road will be one with you. Hanguk Tires.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Jared Deanna, the voice of Drift.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Violet Kemp.
We're here at the season opener
in the beautiful city of Long Beach.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Jared here, coming to you live from Evergreen Raceway, just outside of Seattle, Washington. This time we're coming to you from Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada.
This is Danielle here in Irwindale, and you guys are watching D-Sport DVD. Make sure to check it out. That's what's up.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Be one with it, and it will be one with you. Be one with your tires, and the road will be one with you. Hanguk Tires.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Jared Deanna, the voice of Drift.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Violet Tim.
We're here at the season opener
in the beautiful city of Long Beach.
What's up, D-Sport DVD? This is Jared here, coming to you live from Evergreen Raceway, just outside of Seattle, Washington. This time we're coming to you from Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada.
This is Danielle here in Irwindale, and you guys are watching D-Sport DVD. Make sure to check it out. That's what's up.
Held on to the wheel again. Yep. Using a little too much throttle? Yeah, I felt it. Alright, show them who's boss. You felt that,
okay,
right?
Yeah, I felt where I
had to get back on. When that happens, just counter steer a little more, and then get on the throttle a little more too.
He's getting so close to that cone where it's just pivoting right around it. And he's starting to get the smoke going. You can start smelling it. He's just a natural, and he's making it extremely easy on me. So I'm having a blast teaching him and seeing him kind of progress, and it's a very satisfying feeling.
Sergeant Varals did an amazing job. I am very impressed how Sergeant Varals just went out there and just after like 2-3 minutes, she's on it. She's born to drive. You gotta have your head straight. You know, it's a mental game in life, whether it be drifting or anything you do in life. As long as you're collected, you know, and calm, everything works out.
I'm not afraid to break the car loose. I'm afraid can I control it once it gets loose.
Kind of competitive. I try not to be, but sometimes it gets the best of me.
The car is kind of harder to drive because the rear wheels don't lock.
All right, everybody out there in Drift Stream land, an unfamiliar face is stepping into the mix here. Ryan Sage here in for Jacob Leviton and Eric O'Sullivan. Untraditionally, we have a bit of a situation that we wanted to give everybody out in internet land an idea of what's going on here as we get ready for the top 16. We actually are going to have one half of one more battle. Quickly explain what I'm talking about here. The battle in the last half of the round of 32, Toshiki Yoshioka and Tony Angelo. The original decision was a victory for Toshiki Yoshioka. If you recall, on the very first lead run, there was quite a bit of distance between. I don't know, do we have this replay? We do. There was quite a bit of distance between Toshiki and Tony Angelo. As we look at the replay here, you can see. Can we go full speed? You go full speed, and you can see a huge gap develop right here, probably 5-6 car lengths. Now, both of these cars are relatively equal in speed, at least at the entry speed. And you can see Tony Angelo ends up trying to make up for that distance by going 4 tires off. Well, his team had filed a petition after Yoshiki had won the battle, saying that Toshiki Yoshioka was basically pacing him to the cone. Now, the cone in the middle of the track is actually... Hey, are you guys putting this live? This sounds like it's going outside, too. Let's not. We off? We off? All right. Sorry about that, everybody. Just it is absolutely crazy over here. Anyways, so Tony Angelo goes off course, ends up losing the battle to Toshiki Yoshioka. Comes and files a petition to basically say that Toshiki was treating the cone in the middle of the track near the start line as a pace cone. Now, specifically, that is not a pace cone. It is a restart cone. If a driver at any time feels like they got punked off the line, they have before that cone to turn around to restart the battle. We've already seen that with Kenny Mullen and Ken Gushi, and that is specifically what that cone is there to do. Well, what Tony's team is asserting is that Toshiki was basically half throttle, modulating throttle up to that and treating as a pace cone, and then blasting on throttle to get away from Tony Angelo. Well, we consulted with Toshiki Yoshioka's team, and it was admitted that they thought that that was actually a pace cone. So they were actually pacing Tony when it was supposed to be a restart cone. So the judges voted to 2 votes to 1 to rerun the first battle or the first run between those 2 competitors. Whether or not you agree with it, what Tony asserted ended up being actually true. It was admitted by Yoshioka's team, and the judges voted 2 votes to 1 to rerun the first run. So that is what we are here to see right now. Very unorthodox and untraditional, but that is basically what transpired here. I think in all fairness, it was probably the right call. There was a miscommunication between Toshiki Yoshioka's team and himself as a driver in treating that as a pace rather than a turnaround cone or a restart cone. And so that is where we are right now. So I'm stepping in to give you the information since Eric and Jacob are gone, and I'm wrapped up in all this madness. So it looks like we're getting cars on to grid here not too long, and I'll find out what's going on. And we will rerun the first run of Toshiki Yoshioka and Tony Angelo, with Yoshioka taking the lead.
Doug.
They're lined up, ready to go. So roll cameras pretty soon.
Are we up? We're up. We're up. All right, we're cool, Doug. We're cool. All right, everybody at home. We are now, if you guys didn't hear me the first time, Ryan Sage here, we are now going to watch a rerun of the first run of Toshiki Yoshioka and Tony Angelo. Toshiki Yoshioka's team was treating the yellow cone, orange cone in the middle of the track as a pace cone. It's not a pace cone, it's a turnaround cone.
No, this last little run that
off the line.
They
admitted that they treated it as a pace, which is not correct. Not giving Tony Angelo a full and correct pull. The judges voted 2 in favor to rerun it and 1 against it. So this is what we're watching in this crazy, unbelievable, I can't believe I'm actually up here filling in for Jacob Leviton, Eric O'Sullivan madness. So nonetheless, this is what's going on. And I do not want it up. I have a plan for that when we come back. I do not want one. All right, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Toshiki Yoshioka and Tony Angelo on the line, and we are getting ready to run only the lead run from Toshiki and Tony Angelo, and hopefully we can get a clear winner this time around. I have not ever really seen anything like this in all my years of Formula Drift. Again, to reemphasize, Toshiki Yoshioka's team did not explain to him clearly that the cone on track is a turnaround cone, not a pace cone. And so here we go. Toshiki Yoshioka coming down the front straight. Now we get a clean pull. Tony Angelo about 4 or 5 car lengths behind us. Toshiki Yoshioka is nice and high on the bank. Tony Angelo still way behind on proximity, and now making a big mistake down on the bottom. Transition, and Tony Angelo loses all drift. That essentially probably will be a 0. Loss of drift is a 0 as Toshiki Yoshioka comes across the finish line right here with Tony Angelo finally getting some proximity, but it looks like it is probably going to be a win for Toshiki Yoshioka, and I can see that the judges are making that decision. It looks to be coming up on the screen here. And again, I'm jumping into this, ladies and gentlemen. You can spam me on the message boards later. I'm just jumping in to hopefully try to bring some clarity to this absolute nightmare of a situation of what's going on right here. But we're trying to do what's right. It's what the judges voted for, and it is unanimous. Toshiki Yoshioka gets the win. Nothing changes, and here we go into our break. We'll see you guys back in the top 16. Have fun. We'll be back here at what time? We'll be coming back. 6:30. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks a lot.
Like both cars just headed back into the paddock, and everybody's clearing out the start area. That's all I can see. Clear. Done. Be back by 6:20. Everybody. Alright, if I can get Bodie to come grab me out here at the power alley, that'd be awesome. I'm kidding. Hey, Ricky,
just going to go over my run with you guys, and we're going to hang out for a little bit. So here we go. In top 32, I went against Kyle Pollard. I think they're trying to find the video. There we go. And, he's a good local guy. This is his area. I just wanted to do a good lead run. I e-brake. This is the first time I've seen it. It looks like I have more angle than he does. It looks pretty good to me. Hit that outer clip. I came a lot shallow on carrying it through the whole length of the outer zone. And yeah, I don't know, solid run, nothing insane. It's top 32. You still have to drive hard, but it's not like you have to go. You don't want to lose. You don't want to give it away. I followed him in practice, and he was fast. He does clutch kick entry. I actually do like a really slight e-brake, so I knew that he was a fast driver. I wasn't that close to him on the bank, but right here I really sucked up on him. Closed the gap. Proximatus, the duration of proximity is what really won it for me here. Yeah, I mean, it looked like good, clean runs on both sides, and that was the main thing is I just was able to close the gap coming off the bank, and I think that's what won it for me. When I followed him in practice, I could see that he slowed down pretty heavily there, so I knew I had an advantage on my lead run, and that was my plan. It was just to close the gap right there, and it worked out. So I'm facing Walker Wilkerson next, another local guy. Good driver, pretty similar cars. So I think similar entry techniques out here too. So it should be a good battle. And yeah, so this was brought to you by ACT Advanced Clutch. I got their triple plate. It's a custom triple plate in my car. It kills it. It works really good. Last year I went through like 3 clutches, I think, by Atlanta, and this year I'm still on the same one. So we'll probably check it out after this round, just for good measure. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Excited to be here. You guys want me to keep going? I'll keep going. Our cars didn't. Mike Essa and my car didn't make it here on Thursday. You see Ken Gushi drifting the FRS. Or he's not drifting there, but he's driving it around the track. Our cars didn't make it on Thursday. There was a small accident in Oregon, and they got held up, so we missed Thursday practice actually, but everything worked out. We're both in top 16. We're both qualified decent. So yeah, we went jet skiing instead, and it was fun. I think that about covers it. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? I can't hear you, so sorry if there is. Yeah, I think we're going to be going to a commercial soon, and after we get back, we will be talking to Pat Gooden, a.k.a. the King of Spring Break. So maybe he can explain that for you guys, because that's a sweet nickname. Yeah, that's it. Ken Gushi's drifting.
know guys like you sitting right where you're sitting thinking exactly what you're thinking. Like, how the heck do I find a job, start a career, or even change careers? And in this tough economy, you got to think harder and smarter. Look, there's only one place that guys like you, guys like this go when they're serious about a future as an auto technician. That's Universal Technical Institute. UTI gives you real-world hands-on training in classrooms like this, equipped by the industry's top manufacturers. We know how you want to learn, and we teach you in a way that clicks. So the technology you learn here is the same technology you'll use every day when you're working. The best brands in the industry partner with UTI. It's because they want these guys in their shops when they graduate. 4 out of 5 UTI grads get jobs in their field of study. UTI's tech training for people who are serious about being the best in the business. If you're motivated and ready to work, let's talk. Give us a call and we'll talk about UTI programs, campuses, and even financial aid. Your new career starts your first day at UTI. Are you ready? Call now.
JukuRacing.com, your #1 source for all your performance parts needs.
To be good at one thing is an accomplishment. To be great at many is to achieve excellence in diversity. At Falcon Tire, we thrive on competition. Whether it's American Le Mans, Formula Drift, or off-road, we constantly push to be the best. We battle it out on the track so you can conquer your daily commute. Visit facebook.com/Falcon Tire for your chance to win a 2013 Falcon Ford Mustang GT. Falcon Tire, we get you going.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Live stream here with Millan. Reese, one of the bigger upsets that we saw in the top 32. You had a very tough battle against Forsberg. How about you give us a rundown? What was going through your mind when you saw that you were matched up against Forsberg, someone who's definitely always tough to drive against?
Yeah, for sure. You know, one thing I had in mind and I knew to be a safe factor for that run of 32 was Chris doesn't play any games. He's a solid driver. And he just runs hard, and that's always good to know. It's probably one of my more relaxing top 32s with a balance of two good cars and two good opponents. Usually they're very mixed matched. At this level, you know, I had a rough qualifying weekend yesterday. The car was fantastic before it, and after it just pushed it a little too hard, made a mistake, and the second run we had to go conservative. It put us in number 28 position. Chris obviously qualified really well in fifth. So, yeah, as it always goes, one of us was going to go out. Unfortunately, he made a couple of mistakes on the lead run, and that kind of gave us a bit of an advantage and something that we just needed to do a clean run and bring on to the finish.
One of the things that's always challenging is trying to dive more smoke, but it seems like your car was putting out a lot more smoke on the Hankook tires compared to Chris's car. Is that something where you guys have tuned the car especially into the Hankook tires, or is it something that just kind of the way it goes with the track?
You know, that's a perfect display of power, I guess you could say. Yeah. We are running, there's two cars on course at the same time, same track temperatures, same ambient temperatures, same exact tire size, 265, 40, 18 Hankook RS3. And we just run a lot of wheel speed. We have a lot of torque, a lot of power out of the Hyundai V6, and 131 mile an hour wheel speed on the rev limiter around there. So that's why we produce a lot of smoke.
So now we're going and looking at the second run. This was the run where you were leading, and again, you really see that tire smoke peeling off as you come around the bank. Walk us through what you're thinking at this point in the course.
You know, we're really just trying to do what we did in qualifying. Run a high line, kind of what the rules in judging were a couple of years ago when it was 90% of your qualifying run is what they wanted to see in tandem, and we just wanted to reproduce that. Again, the car felt great previously in practice. We knew with Chris's little mistake that I didn't have to push overly hard, and just put down a very clean, consistent lap, and the car felt great. You saw Chris kind of suck up us on in the end there, but unfortunately that put him into an error again on the exit of that corner. So yeah, we're into top 16 now. We're happy. I kind of redeemed myself to my crew. They gave me a great car, and as I mentioned, made a mistake yesterday, but we feel strong. Now we're up against Dye again, and we'll see what happens.
Former teammate, you know, you were the boss once upon a time for the car back in 2008 when you ran your old GTO.
Yep.
Now you're going up against him. You guys had a pretty tight battle over in New Jersey the last round. You looking to get some redemption, possibly get that win over him this round?
Oh, without a doubt, you know, that would always be fantastic. But again, top 16, another very tough competitor. And Dye, again, a guy that just does not play any games. I just hope that he's watching the finish line and doesn't get scared by me, because I'm going to be sticking that bumper in on that door again.
Oh, man, some brave words from Reese. So, Reese, you know, great to have you on the halftime show, get a little bit of insight into what's going on with your Hyundai Genesis coupe. You know, give us a rundown of the best way
Yeah, for sure. You know, heading out of here, we actually have a busy few weeks. We have a week prep. Actually, this coming week, Friday, we'll be at Willow Springs testing the time attack setup for the Genesis Coupe. The same car will be used in 2 weeks' time at the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, going for another world record out there. Running some very sticky, super wide new Hankook tires and a whole bunch of aero on the car that it's never seen before. So into that, and then we have Las Vegas drift into Rallycross GRC Global Rallycross Championship in Fontana, September 14th, and then into gosh, there's so much going on, into GRC again at Las Vegas, and then the final of Irwindale. So a busy season, and then a lot of off-season plans for a fun new project that we have called Formula Cross. Yep. It is. It's called Formula Cross. It's kind of a combination of rallycross and Formula Drift. It's a spec series. Gets people out there excited. It's a low entry point, $9,500. Super fun. All the skills of drifting, all the excitement, and it gives the driver something to do in the off season when their cars are pulled apart in $1 million for 4 months.
So great to catch up with you, Reese. Always visit, man. Glad you had some time for us on the news.
Yeah. Thank you, and thanks to all the supporters. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it was 3,200 miles.
Wow, that's definitely a long ways to go. But as a privateer with some support from some key sponsors, including Injuka Racing, one of your Injuka Racing teammates, your sole Injuka Racing teammate, Jeremy Lowe, had that big win against Justin Pollock. Got to be excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But let's see if we can get your run together with Frederick Osbo on the replay. Maybe you can walk us through what it's like going up against a guy like Osbo.
Osbo's super cool. I barely make 400 horsepower, so he hung around forever just waiting for me, and then his car is so fast and drift. I was just doing everything I could to try to keep up with him and trying to shallow up and just do anything I could to stay with him, but he just kept pulling away.
Now, as a rookie, this is your first time coming to Evergreen Speedway. What's it like sitting on the start line for the first time in practice, looking for your bank, and how do you handle that?
First time was terrifying. I was like, I don't even know what to do. So I just cruised in pretty slow and clutch kicked fourth. But when I started running, or knew I was going to run Osbo, I started handbraking because he was almost 12 miles an hour faster than me. So I knew I had to slow the car down a little bit if I was going to use more speed. and it worked. It felt a lot better, and I don't know, it's just super cool to get to drive with those guys.
You know, your lead run here, you had a really good, smooth lead run. It was just kind of a matter of speed overall and proximity. So
Yeah.
one of those things where Osbo stuck with you pretty well, and kind of hard to overcome that. But, you know, walk us through what it's like entering this car as a privateer, knowing you're coming from the game. What were some of the decisions when it came to engine choice, parts choice?
Wanted to do a dog box transmission. I just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
So kind of stuck with the same motor setup, make right about 400, but we were freaking out because we're like, oh, we have to have so much grip in the cars. And then I've talked to a couple guys, and they're like, you don't need to set your car up for that much grip for practice. So me and a lot of the other rookies are killing ourselves out there trying to make the car drift with so much grip.
Yeah.
And then we realized we need to tone it down and have like a Pro-Am setup car for practice. So you can just get through, learn the track, figure it all out, and then you add all your grip in. But other than that, it's pretty much just go by the rule book, make sure everything's legal, and then do the best you can to make power and have grip.
So, again, you made that long trip out here with Jeremy Lowe, your Juku Racing teammate, and J-Lo was able to take out the #1 driver in the series, Justin Pollock. So that was definitely the upset of the top 32 battle. Have you had a chance to catch up with him in the pits and talk about his next matchup up against Ryan Turk?
Yeah, he's super pumped. We're pitted next to each other because we come together and everything, and came back. He doesn't even know what to think. I was like, are you pumped? He goes, I don't even know. I can't figure out how to feel right now. So he is super pumped. I'm super pumped for him. That's so cool to make a top 16 as a rookie.
Yeah, I think that's kind of every rookie's goal, too, is to make a top 16, get your name announced in front of the big crowd. And here in Evergreen, it's definitely going to be a packed house. But, you know, you can't get this far without some of the sponsors. Give us a rundown of who's helping to support you this year.
Biggest sponsors in Juku Racing. Ken is helping me and Jeremy out so much. He's paying for all of our fuel to get to the events, paying for all the entry fees. Anytime we need parts, no problem, overnighted. Get what we need to have the car ready to go.
That's awesome.
So Juku's helping me out so much. Another shop, they're helping more with the build of car, Status Automotive. They're pretty much just maintaining the car for me.
Perfect.
Get the parts from Juku, then they put them on the car and just help me out, set up the car, because I don't really have access to a lift or anything, so I get to use their lift all the time. And then Falcon Tire, BC Suspension, Kaz, Drive Shaft Shop, Competition Clutch, Blue Star Fab, all those people are helping me out a lot.
You know, looking ahead, we have 2 more rounds left. You got Vegas coming up and Irwindale, both tracks that will be new to you and both pretty high speed.
Yeah,
so
I've driven Irwindale in 2010 and last year for the Pro-Am National deal, so I'm pretty comfortable at that track. It's just a lot of fun, so I'm excited for Irwindale and excited for Vegas because it's really similar to our home track of CFRC.
Awesome.
Just flat parking lot with a super high-speed entry.
Well, Pat, it's always exciting to have you out here, see the new privateer faces, and you know, definitely can't do it without your sponsors. And Juku Racing has been, you know, a big supporter of drifting, one of the original teams in Formula D. So, you know, also a proud supporter of the live stream. Can't do it without them.
Yeah.
Great to get you up here, get a little bit of information about you. What's the best way to keep up with you and follow you on your social media and whatnot?
Facebook.com/Patrick Gooden. I'm on Instagram, Pat Gooden. That's it. I'm not really that cool, so I just have 2 of them.
You know what? It's tough enough keeping each one up and running.
Yeah.
So you're a brave man taking on Instagram and Facebook, and you know, definitely a good guy to watch for in the coming years. Privateer, sitting next to J-Lo. I know a lot of people are going to be cheering for that Black FC and another Juku Racing driver. So, Pat, thanks again for coming on here with the Drift Stream.
Yeah.
And, again, can't wait to see how you do in Vegas and Irwindale. We'll be back here in just a few moments. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
ShukuRacing.com, your #1 source for all your performance parts needs.
To be good at one thing is an accomplishment. To be great at many is to achieve excellence in diversity. At Falcon Tire, we thrive on competition. Whether it's American Le Mans, Formula Drift, or off-road, we constantly push to be the best. We battle it out on the track so you can conquer your daily commute. Visit Facebook.com/Falcon Tire for your chance to win a 2013 Falcon Ford Mustang GT. Falcon Tire, we get you going.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Be one with it, and it will be one with you. Be one with your tires, and the road will be one with you. Hanguk Tires.
All right, we're coming here back on the drift stream. Here with Ryan Kado. Ryan, you had a pretty good run in the top 32, making it into top 16. So you were up against Alex Lee, someone that's kind of newer face in Formula D, not able to make it to all the events, but someone that you might not really know how they drive prior to coming to an event like this. How hard is it to go up against someone like Alex Lee, where you're not really comfortable driving with them?
You know, I haven't run with Alex Lee in the past, but we had a little chat before our battle, and we kind of discussed our cars and power level, and actually he upgraded to a V8 this year, so I know I had full confidence when I was chasing him that I could just go full throttle and he'd stay right on the line, lots of speed, and it was actually a lot of fun.
Cool, yeah, and I think we're looking at your run right now. When you were leading, you were the higher qualified driver, so you led first, and you've got some new power this weekend as well, so how's that helping you out?
Yeah, we actually just turbocharged the car for this round, and we got it working just in time, Friday morning for qualifying. So we've been working out the bugs using the practice sessions that we got, but we got it working pretty good, and I'm having a lot of fun playing with the turbo.
Yeah, and all that power is going through some of the great wheels that we have on grid. Enki Wheels is someone that's been a supporter of drifting a lot, and their RPF1 really seems to be one of the select choices for privateers. How did you come together with Enki to decide to put them on your car?
We've always ran the Enki RPF1 wheel since Pro-Am, simply for the fact that when you're a privateer, they're a great wheel. They're strong, they're light, and they're cheap. So coming into Formula Drift, we of course wanted to stick with those wheels, and we approached Enki, and we got together and teamed up for Formula Drift.
Perfect. And looking ahead, you actually have a very tough opponent, Frederick Osbo. How do you prepare for a guy like Osbo who has a lot of power, but now you're actually able to keep up with him with your newfound power?
Right, I actually had a chance to drive with Frederick in practice, and it was a lot of fun. Our cars are similar speeds. He's running the 4-cylinder turbo. I'm running the V8 turbo, both Garrett turbochargers. So he's going V8 hunting, and I'm going 4-cylinder hunting, I guess.
Yeah, so we're just looking through the end of your run with Alex Lee. It seemed like one of the big things that helped you with this was your ability to stay close to Alex. And like you said, someone that you're able to trust because he has a similar power level to you. Is that something that we can expect up against Osbo in this next run?
Definitely. Hopefully I can put some Nexen tire rubber on his doors.
Yeah, I know Osbo is definitely someone that did well last year, earned his first podium here, but Seattle's an event where anything can happen, and nude faces are very commonplace on the podium. Are you think you can get past Osbo and make your way all the way to the top?
We're really thankful just to have made it this far. Just to have the car even running is a miracle at this point. But, of course, I'm going to push it as hard as I can, try and take my Ford Racing Nexen tire 350Z to the top of the podium.
This year you're sitting in 17th place overall, another top 16, so you're likely to move up in the point standings. It's always great to have young talent coming up through the ranks. I know back in the day, Ken Gushi was called the future of Formula D, and it's kind of evolved to where you're now one of the younger faces. Give us a rundown of some of the people who have been able to help you get this far.
I really got to thank all my sponsors, Ford Racing, Nexen Tires, Part Shop Max, SR Motorcars, ACT Clutches, Garrett Turbos. There's just so many guys helping us out. And you know, my family's always been supporting me since I first started drifting, all the way back from Pro-Am all the way to Formula Drift. And really, everyone in drifting is just really helpful. It's a really friendly crowd. All of the drivers, even competitors, everyone's willing to help out. So it's been a great experience up to this point.
Well, Ryan, you know, we feel like we've really seen the car come alive with this new power, and I feel like you're definitely someone that's going to be competitive in the near future, and definitely someone that is likely to earn a top 8 or even a top 4 before the year is out. So excited to have you on. Thanks for coming out to the Drift Stream. Give us a rundown.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you know, you joined us in Florida and had some great feedback from that. So anytime you want to come up here, have a chat with us, you're more than welcome.
That was a lot of fun, but hopefully I won't be seeing you again. Hopefully I'll be out on the track.
Definitely, definitely. So Ryan Kado, can't miss him. He's got the beautiful white 350Z out there on Enkei RPF 1 tires. We're going to have a couple more interviews for you, then we'll be rolling right into top 16.
Good stuff.
You're always easy to work with. We're back on the Drift Stream. We've got Dennis Mertzanis coming in here with Kenda Tire S13. Dennis, you've been, driving here for a couple times. This isn't your first visit to the track, but it seems like this is one of the driver favorite tracks. Where does it rank compared to some of the other tracks on the course?
For me, it used to be kind of in the middle. I didn't love it or hate it. But now I'm actually starting to really like this course. I mean, the high speed, going deep, transitioning on the wall. I really like the addition they made to the outer wall, sort of extending it around so you can, ride the whole wall.
So you had a very tough matchup against Dai Yoshihara in your first round. We're seeing here with Dai leading. Your follow run was fairly clean. Give us a run through of how you're managing a top driver.
Well, I just knew that I had to go as fast as I could on the entry. I knew he was going to gap me in the power alley, so I had to shallow up to get a little closer to him. I mean, obviously, everyone knows Dai and knows what he's capable of, and I was just doing my best, to keep up with him. I think I did a pretty decent job considering.
Definitely, yeah, and I think, both of you have S13s with V8s in them, but his has a substantially more amount of grip and substantially more power. Yeah,
absolutely.
So switch positions, you were on the lead.
Yeah, so I was trying to be as high as I can. Both wheels are on the other side of the white line. I felt good about that. I came in real deep, a lot of angle, and then when I transitioned, I had to slow down, and it put me into the wall. So that was kind of all she wrote there, but just pushing too hard, too much angle. So, I mean, that's kind of how it goes.
Unfortunately, Dai was able to move on, but definitely a good outing overall for you with your Kenda tire car. Still getting it all figured out. New chassis for this season, new power levels, power delivery. How do you compare this year's power to last year or the year before when you're running the VQ?
The power is great. You know, the advantage we have now is we're able to use all of the tires. We can get the car to have so much grip, even with the V8, that we have to pull grip out of it to be able to drive it effectively on the courses. I mean, the tires are definitely, we're in that range, and they're performing great. You know, we're really, really happy. You know, you can always use a little more power. Like you were saying, Dai's car has however much power, but, you know, a lot more than mine. And, you know, you just add that extra grip in, and then you get that additional speed. So
we've got 2 more events coming up on the Formula D calendar. You got Vegas coming up next, and then Irwindale afterwards. Any big plans for the car? Maybe some more power or any tweaks? Got a little bit of straightening out to do after this weekend.
Yeah, we have some body work and some suspension components to replace. That should be fairly easy. As far as setup for Vegas, I think we're going to be good. I'm suspecting they're going to change the course a bit. So I'm kind of keeping an open mind. I really like the other course with the high-speed kink, and you know, you can do a real big reverse entry. I think that's really awesome for the fans, and so I'm anticipating something like that. We're gonna set the car up for that, and if it changes a little, then we'll adapt.
And then Irwindale to close out the season seems like another track that's definitely a favorite of the drivers and one that everybody's getting used to. Is last year we did have a change at Irwindale. Did you like that addition to the course?
For the VQ, it really hurt us because of the gearing. So this year it should be better considering the car that we have. It should be pretty nice.
Well, Dennis, it feels like you've slowly been climbing your way up through the ranks, doing a little bit better every year. So sad to see you leave in top 32, but definitely see some great opportunity in the coming 2 events and to finish out the season. Who can we thank as far as your sponsors and people who are supporting you?
Obviously, you know, Kenda Tire and Koenig Wheels, you know, they've done a lot for me. We have, you know, the body armor, UTI, Spec Clutch, Rent Reporters, and FuelCulture.com.
Dennis, it's been great having you here, and, you know, look forward to watching the rest of this event, maybe hanging out up here in the Driftstream booth. But before we get back to the action, we actually have a couple of Drift into the Blue episodes, which is a partnership Formula D did this year with the Air Force. So we're going to give you a quick rundown of where we're at with the Drift into the Blue season.
My name is Staff Sergeant Stephen Dowk, and I'm originally from Palm Bay, Florida, and Melbourne Beach, Florida. In the Air Force, I'm an explosive ordnance disposal team leader. Anything from defusing bombs to mitigating UXOs and explosive hazards that can hurt or harm anybody. It's always fun blowing things up.
I am Staff Sergeant Natasha Burrows, and originally I'm from Vacaville, California. I work in diagnostic imaging, which is also called radiology. I do x-rays, CAT scans, and currently I'm training in MRI. I think some of the training that I've gotten from basic training and from tech school is definitely going to pull through and hopefully help me win this competition.
I am pretty calm under pressure and stress of danger or getting hurt, so it may have something to do with it. If I'm just probably won't be afraid to really give that thing everything it's got.
I've never really tried drifting. I've been in the car when friends have tried it, but I've never done any racing of any sort.
I've driven autocross and some other small circuit racing, but nothing like this. My biggest competition right now might actually be Staff Sergeant Burroughs.
I've met the competition, and very nice gentlemen. We will see how they perform on the track.
Held on to the wheel again. Yep. Using a little too much throttle? Yeah, I felt it. Alright, show them who's boss. You felt that, right?
Yeah, I felt where I had to get back on.
When that happens, just counter steer a little more, and then get on the throttle a little more too. He's getting so close to that cone where it's just pivoting right around it, and he's starting to get the smoke going. You can start smelling it. He's just a natural, and he's making it extremely easy on me. So I'm having a blast teaching him and seeing him kind of progress, and it's a very satisfying feeling.
Sergeant Burroughs did an amazing job. I am very impressed how Sergeant Burroughs just went out there and just after like 2-3 minutes, she's on it. She's born to drive. You gotta have your head straight. You know, it's a mental game in life, whether it be drifting or anything you do in life. As long as you're collected, you know, and calm, everything works out.
My name is Simi Corals. I'm a senior airman stationed at Luke Air Force Base. I grew up in the military, so I've been moved around a lot. I was born in the Philippines, moved to Okinawa, and then most of my childhood was spent in Florida, around Fort Walton Beach in the Destin area.
So my name is Brian Abel. I'm a technical sergeant in the Air Force, born and raised in South Texas.
Currently, my job is head of intelligence readiness. I train the new coming airmen about how to gather information, analyze, and brief the information to the F-16 pilots. We actually deal with a lot of classified systems. It's all based on security clearance and need to know.
I am a crew chief expediter. Avionics systems is what I work on. Flight controls, radar, threat warning stuff, comm, navigation. I get the people, I get the airplanes, and we fix them. I manage that. Do I like it? Of course I like it. I love it.
What I like the most about the Air Force is the people I get to meet on a daily basis. Just like this opportunity right here, I got to come here and meet 3 other people in the Air Force. Never met them before, and we get along great.
What I picked up from the Air Force that I believe is going to help me most in this competition is probably discipline. Looking at a big picture rather than just what's happening, what's frustrating me the most.
I'm kind of competitive. I try not to be, but sometimes it gets the best of me.
I'm the oldest, I got more experience, got discipline. I don't think the other guys have a chance. They don't stand a chance at all.
Go out, you don't have to like let it out a bit. So just turn it, kick it, and let it start to come to you.
started, that's the hardest part right now for you. Kind of stop what you're doing and start from scratch when you start the donut. I'll check it out from the outside.
Start working the wheel a little earlier. You're getting it. You're getting the feel exactly right. Just try to unwind the wheel a bit earlier and it'll do what you want. We have kind of a unique vehicle here. Senior Airman Quarles has been doing a really good job of throwing it around, and he kind of told me, like, listen, I don't drive standard cars much, and I'm not really familiar with, like, I never raced cars, I never raced any of that kind of stuff. So I said, you know, give your best and let's see what happens. And he totally jumped in with both feet. You know, he's not scared of it. He's doing what he can, and he takes instruction really well. I think we have a pretty good shot. I think we're going to put on a good show tomorrow.
I think if we do things slowly and take one thing at a time, I think our chances of winning are pretty good.
I seem to get it pretty quick, so it looks good for me, that's all I'll say.
Come tomorrow, I think my chances will be really good, actually. I'm hoping to get first place. If not, I'll take second.
I got it, and they better watch out. Somebody came to learn, and somebody learned very quickly.
Finally building that competitive side of me that I don't really have, so I think my chances are pretty high of winning.